Chapter 1803. Unlin San Ing Luoqing clutched her witch robe with one hand and looked around at the empty room with a slightly dazed expression. She then recalled the paramount might that Unlin had just unleashed, and her body began to tremble uncontrollably as a peculiar blush appeared on her cheeks. So powerful, she murmured to herself. Near the crack, Unlin returned to his base. Dabai and Najah were both quite taken aback by Unlin's quick return. Big brotherin, you're way too fast. It's only been less than 5 minutes since you went in, woof. Dabai clapped his paws as he stuck out his tongue. Shut up, Dabai. Don't prick Unlin's sore spot, Najah scolded in a stern voice, but he was still looking at Unlin with a sympathetic expression on his face. Unlin, bam! Unlin slapped Dabai across the face. Perverted dog. It's not what you think it is. Then what is it? Najah asked. Unlin faltered slightly upon hearing this. Was he supposed to tell them that Ing Luoqing had taken off her clothes and offered herself to him, only for him to glare at her and scare her into pissing her pants before leaving? No one would believe him if he told them that. Sigh. Xiaolan, do you know how hard it is for me to keep my chastity for you? Unlin wore a disconsolate expression. Dabai and Najah looked at Unlin's expression, and they thought that Unlin was depressed because he didn't have 5 minutes left, so they both tried to console him, only to be slapped to the ground by Unlin. Not long after that, Ing Luoqing made her way over to Unlin's side in her witch robe. There was still a slight flush on her delicate cheeks, and her bright, black eyes reflected the man's figure as she bowed toward Unlin. Unlin-san, I apologize for my previous recklessness. Unlin waved his hand and said, Yes, just this once. Actually, if you change your mind, Unlin-san, you can come and find me at any time. I'll be waiting for you. Ing Luoqing lowered her head as she spoke in a quiet voice. Her breathing was a little ragged, and one could see her exquisite collarbone and smooth skin through her loose witch robe. After saying that, she didn't wait for Unlin's reply and turned to leave, leaving Unlin standing there in the wind. Unlin, Dabai and Neza finally believed him. Things were indeed not what they had imagined. However, looking at it this way, why was the matter even more explosive? All right, let's play the game, Unlin said. Dabai and Neza immediately raised their hands in agreement. They had already ascertained that an extremely powerful heavenly god had forcibly broken through the barrier of earth, just like how the heavenly heaven god had broken through Tina's divine mirror world. However, this time, the rift was extremely stable and showed no signs of shrinking. Instead, it was growing larger and larger, creating a passageway for heavenly human tribe powerful beings to pass through. Nuwa's fortification of the barrier of earth could only slow down the expansion of the rift, but it was unable to stop it. Nuwa was the goddess of creation of this world, so it was up to her to resolve this issue. They were still waiting for Nuwa's decision, so they could only kill time with games. Let's play another game, Neza suggested. I'm sick of this game. His Celestial Court Immortal Battle had already reached the number 1 spot on the Celestial Stairway rankings. The loneliness of being invincible made him want to explore new territories. Let's play this exciting battlefield. Unlin pointed at a game icon. This was a game that he was very familiar with, but he didn't know what it had become after over 100 years of development. The three of them quickly created new accounts. One was called Fake Taoist Priest, one was called Dabai is Pure, and one was called Neza is a Noob. Thus, they began their journey to exciting battlefield. At this moment, the adorable Taoist priest of the 6 paths had returned to his little nest and started his long-awaited live stream. His other identity was that of a renowned online streamer. He was one of the most popular streamers in this extremely popular, exciting battlefield game. Hello, long time no see, everyone. A relaxed smile appeared on the Taoist priest of the 6 paths' face at the sight of his diehard fans swarming into his live stream. I've been through a big event today, so I've decided to relax. I'm going to randomly select 3 of my friends to play random matchmaking mode. Random matchmaking mode was an exciting battlefield with no ranks. There would be 25 teams of 4 people each, for a total of 100 people. All of them would battle against each other on an island, using all types of firearms to determine the most powerful team. In this mode, one might encounter an iron-ranked newbie or a king-ranked boss. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths isn't playing challengers matchmaking mode anymore. Oh my god, the god of slaughter is going to descend to the mortal world to crush the noobs. Boss, please help me get a chicken dinner. All of the spectating fans began to get excited. One had to realize that kings were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. In random matchmaking mode, they were like gods who ruled over everything, and they could basically steamroll through all of their opponents. Thus, the Taoist priest of the 6 paths began a quiz session again. Come on, everyone, guess if I can kill 50 enemies in this round. If you guess correctly, you'll get a prize. When the quiz was released, almost 90% of the fans chose the option of him being able to kill more than 50 people. What a joke! The Taoist priest of the 6 paths was able to kill over 30 enemies in challengers mode, so killing 50 enemies in random matchmaking mode would be a piece of cake. He quickly formed a party of 4 with 3 followers and started the game. The environment began to transform, and an extremely 3-dimensional image appeared before his eyes. Through the live stream, the fans could also see the same as the streamer, allowing them to experience the battlefield together as the streamer transformed into gods of slaughter. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths and his 3 friends parachuted into the most intense battlefield, which was a massive city. There were countless guns, ammunition, and all types of top-tier defensive equipment hidden within the city. If they could obtain top-tier equipment, they would be able to turn the tables. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths rushed into a small building and picked up a pistol, which he instantly insta-killed 2 passers-by who had picked up submachine guns. Double kill at the start, awesome! I can't wait for the 6 paths to crush the entire battlefield. If the 6 paths doesn't kill 50 enemies, I'm going to do a handstand and eat sh*t. I can't wait for the streamer to fail. I want to see those fans scamming for food. The fans were already in an uproar, and a fierce battle ensued from the get-go. Kill notifications popped up from the bottom left corner of the screen. 6 paths killed Meow of Hope with a pistol. 6 paths killed Bei Chen Chen with a pistol. 6 paths killed Big Sister Don't Love Me with a Jik submachine gun. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths immediately went into a massacre mode, transforming into an unstoppable god of slaughter. The 3 fans didn't even have a chance to fire their weapons before their enemies fell to the ground. They could only follow behind him and pick up their equipment while cheering him on. It was also at this moment that a few discordant kill notifications popped up from the bottom of the screen. Fake Taoist priest killed Shen Meng with his fist. Please love me again. Dubai is pure killed Nara Rio with his frying pan. Neza doesn't know how to play killed twitching fish streamer Little Vicious with a fuel barrel. Chapter 1804. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths hurriedly glanced at the notification and didn't pay much attention to it. He was paying close attention to his surroundings. At a time like this, he still had to kill 50 people in a row, so every second was extremely important. However, the attentive fans all noticed this and began to yell, "Holy F***CK. Fake Taoist priest killed his opponent with his fist? That's not bad." Fish-shaking streamer Little Vicious was killed by a fuel barrel. Holy **T. That's my favorite streamer. He's an ace streamer. Isn't this a little too illogical? Ha ha ha, I've already taken a screenshot. This is Little Vicious dark history. I'm even more curious about who Naja the noob is. Was it a coincidence or... It has to be a coincidence. There's no way someone could kill someone with a fuel barrel. Little Vicious must have something to do at the time and suddenly went AFK. The fans were all yelling 666. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths thought that the fans were yelling 666, and he became even more enthusiastic. Like a ghost, he shuttled through the streets of the city, relying on his extremely powerful detection skills, superb awareness, and extremely fast aiming. He controlled his gun and fired continuously, making him invincible on the battlefield. As for picking up equipment, that was non-existent. His enemy's equipment was his equipment. His enemies were all coming to him to deliver loot crates to him, so he didn't have to waste time looking for equipment. Everything was progressing very smoothly, and his kill count soon exceeded 30. The blue circle began to shrink, and all characters within its range would be poisoned. This indicated that their battlefield was about to shrink. Whoosh! Splat! A man was struck in the head and fell to the ground. Naja the noob killed a virgin with a crossbow. Wow! My god, Naja is so awesome! His crossbow has the effect of a sniper rifle. A crisp female voice sounded with excitement in her voice. This was the voice chat of Naja's team. There were only 3 of them in a team of 4, so a girl by the name of Chi-Chi was randomly assigned to their team. Chi-Chi was a platinum-ranked expert. When she saw her 3 iron-ranked teammates, she instantly lamented that she was done for. It was another round of one god leading 3 pitfalls. It wasn't until she saw the 3 of them using all kinds of exotic weapons that she finally realized that she had met an expert that was much stronger than her. This was definitely 3 war gods, starting Smurfs to experience life. In a townhouse in the capital, dressed in loose bear pajamas, she had a fair face, bright eyes, and white teeth. She looked to be only 16 or 17 years old. Her slender legs were crossed as she sat cross-legged on the bed. Her hands moved quickly on the holographic projection and fired. She followed behind the 3 bosses with excitement in her eyes. Wow! Fake Taoist priest, you're all so awesome. You've killed 12 people. Aside from that 6 gods, you've killed the most people. The young woman yelled again. She was none other than Chi-Chi, who had been paired with Lin and the others. That's nothing. Let's see you, Dabai, overtake that fake Taoist priest, woof. A coarse voice sounded, and Chi-Chi's body shuddered upon hearing this. Dabai, why do you always like to use the word woof? Your voice is so sexy, and in my mind, you're a mature middle-aged man. But having the word woof in the end gives me a strange feeling. Chi-Chi covered her mouth with a chuckle. I'm a dog to begin with, so what's wrong with using the word woof? Woof. Dabai replied in a pure and innocent manner. Chi-Chi chuckled. Is this a new form of performance art? Meow. Everyone woof woof and meow 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 meow. Before they knew it, there were only a dozen or so people left on the battlefield. The Taoist priest of the 6 Paths looked at his kill count of 41 with a grave expression. There are powerful enemies among them, and they've taken a lot of kills. We have to hurry, he said. He gave up on the idea of playing it safe and began to teleport around the city in order to lure enemies. The other 3 players followed behind him to provide cover for him. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of whistling wind erupted in the distance. One of the players didn't even have a chance to react before an arrow pierced through his head, and he died on the spot. Holy F***ck. Everyone else was given a fright. The Taoist priest of the 6 Paths reacted the quickest, and he instantly locked onto a certain direction before using his scope to lock onto the black figure and pull the trigger. His movements were extremely smooth and fluid, and it took less than a second for him to react. Bam bam! Bam! Blood gushed forth from the enemy's body, but he quickly hid behind a large bus and was not killed. Damn it! The Taoist priest of the 6 Paths gritted his teeth and hid behind a wall before looking at his enemy's head, which had been punctured by an arrow. You can use a crossbow to kill someone from afar? What the hell is going on? His enemy had killed one of his teammates with a crossbow right in front of his eyes, but he was unable to kill his enemy. This made him feel extremely frustrated. At this moment, the chat had already exploded. According to the kill notification, Naja doesn't know how to play had killed little Luoluo with a godly Juga crossbow. This was simply too shocking. Fake Taoist priest, Dabai is very pure, and Naja doesn't know how to play. These three names were very familiar to the fans, for no other reason than that they were extremely skilled and had killed countless people with unconventional weapons. All of the kill notifications were simply too eye-catching. It's definitely a team of 3 kings. It's most likely a team of 4 kings, and one of them is a secret weapon that's still hiding in the shadows. Go 6 paths. You haven't even reached your target of 50 kills yet. This is going to be fun. Ha, are you still there? There's hope for you to get some food and drinks now. They had thought that this was going to be a one-sided victory, but the battle between Naja and the 6 Paths of God finally became a little more exciting. At this moment, Chi-Chi from Enlin's team was already getting excited. My God, we're fighting the 6 Paths of God Spear God. It's so exciting! Chi-Chi exclaimed. Is the 6 Paths of God Spear God very famous? Fake Taoist priest asked. Holy F***CK. You don't even know who the 6 Paths of God Spear God is? Chi-Chi faltered upon hearing this, but she still provided an explanation. He's the king of PUBG, and he's extremely proficient with all types of firearms. Sometimes, when I watch his live streams, I feel like he's a god. Even people who don't play this game should know who the 6 Paths of God Spear God is. How come you guys don't know? That's impossible. A big fish has appeared. No wonder he was able to injure me. Naja doesn't know how to play smiled. Fake Taoist priest, I'm on fire. Show him what I'm made of, woof. A sinister smile appeared on Dabai very pure's face as he pulled out a smoke grenade and tossed it toward the Taoist priest of the 6 Paths of God's hiding spot. Boom! White mist rose into the air, obscuring the 6 Paths of God's Spear God's vision. Charge! Chi-Chi yelled as she charged out from behind the bus. Bam! A gunshot erupted. The woman fell backward. Kill notification on the bottom left corner. 6 Paths of God killed Chi-Chi with his Dragon Falcon sniper rifle. Chapter 1805. Within a warmly decorated mansion. The young girl's beautiful eyes widened as she stared at the darkening scene in a daze, unable to come to her senses for a moment. My God, how did I die? She didn't even know how she died. Fake Taoist priest. The enemy has already moved and isn't affected by the smoke grenade. From the sound of the gunshot, he should be on the 3rd floor of that building. Chi-Chi, you're too rash. Chi-Chi pouted. All right then, it's up to you guys to turn the tables. If you can kill 6 gods, you might become famous in the gaming world. Chi-Chi pouted. Fake Taoist priest. Hee, the word failure doesn't exist in my dictionary. Naja is a noob. The name of Naja will resound throughout PUBG. Chi-Chi held her belly and laughed. Haha, where did this chunibu come from? You guys are so interesting. After she was killed, she went into spectator mode to observe the actions of the 3 bosses. At this moment, the Taoist priest of the 6 Paths livestream reached a climax. It's 6 Paths Dragon Eagle sniper rifle. That's his most badass weapon. With the Dragon Eagle sniper rifle in hand, the world is mine. This battle is going to be a foregone conclusion. 6 Paths sniping skills are terrifying even in Grandmaster's games. He wouldn't even bother to take out his gun in normal games, but he's serious this time. The trajectory of the sniper rifle in this game would be affected by all sorts of factors, so it had to be predicted and corrected. Normal players wouldn't be able to use this kind of weapon, but 6 Paths was very familiar with it. The Taoist priest of the 6 Paths smiled as he stood by the window on the 3rd floor. Mortals, feel the fear of being dominated by my sniper god. The blue circle was shrinking with this city as the center. The 2 fans were guarding the door of the house while he sniped from within. This was enough to ensure that he was invincible. At this moment, behind the bus, Anlin, Najah, and Dabai were discussing a strategy. The enemy has a sniper rifle. He'll be able to kill us as soon as we show ourselves. What should we do? Woof. Dabai is very pure was a little distressed. Wait for them to show themselves. Neza said, in the current situation we can't kill them, but they can't hurt us either. At this time we must stay calm. Mentality is the most important. Fake Taoist priest waved the frying pan in his hand and said in a calm voice, I think it's better to run out and fight them head-on. Please don't. Are you crazy? I know it's amazing that you can use a frying pan to block bullets, but the Dragonhawk sniper rifle's bullets have extremely high penetrative power. They can penetrate your frying pan 100% of the time. There's no way you can block them. Chi-Chi shouted anxiously. You're still here? Fake Taoist priest asked. Chi-Chi was so enraged that she almost tore off her teddy bear pajamas. Fake Taoist priest is going too far. I'm not a noob. I'm a platinum rank powerful being. Huh? A platinum ranked expert? You don't seem to have killed a single person. You've been following us this entire time, Fake Taoist priest replied in an indifferent voice. Chi-Chi was on the verge of tears. It's all because you guys killed them too quickly. I didn't even have a chance to react before the enemies were already dead. Alright, enough with the nonsense. I just want to ask, how do you know that the frying pan can't block sniper rifle bullets? Fake Taoist priest was clearly extremely confident in his frying pan. Chi-Chi's eyes widened. Isn't that common sense? Everyone who has played this game knows this. It's not like this is your first time playing this game. Fake Taoist priest, it's our first time playing this game. That's right. Neza chimed in. Chi-Chi, hee. There was no way she would believe them. If this was their first time playing this game, she would even run around naked on the street. Chi-Chi's words reminded Anlin that his frying pan wasn't omnipotent. At this moment, both sides fell into a stalemate again. Bam! The sound of a sniper rifle erupted. System notification. 6 paths killed. Kill me is a pig with the Dragonhawk sniper rifle. Gasp! Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath. They were in the middle of a tense standoff, but 6 paths was still in the mood to watch other people fight? There were now 6 survivors on the battlefield, which was the number of people from the 2 teams. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths had already climbed onto the roof of the building, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Are all 3 of you hiding behind the bus? And a frying pan pops up from time to time to try and exhaust my bullets? How naive. I'll show you why I'm known as the true marksmanship god. Even though the sniper rifle only has 7 bullets, it's more than enough. He no longer looked at the frying pan that would pop out from time to time. Instead, he aimed at the bottom of the bus and gently pulled the trigger. Bam! The bullet tore through the air and punctured a massive hole in the bus. It struck something hard within the bus and didn't completely penetrate through, but the bus still began to tremor violently. All of the fans in the livestream channel faltered upon seeing this. Could it be that 6 paths of the 6 paths is trying to? Not only did the fans think of this possibility, even Anlin, who was playing this game for the first time, immediately yelled, "Run!" Bam! Another bullet imbued with terrifying power struck the hole in the bus with unerring accuracy. In the next instant, energy completely exploded forth. Boom! The bus suddenly exploded as flames swept through the air. System notification. 6 paths has killed. Dabai is very pure with a bus. Holy F***CK? Dabai was completely dumbstruck. I'm dead? My god. That's a vehicle detonation technique. Chi-Chi exclaimed. A bullet with extremely powerful penetrating force must be used to strike the energy core within the bus. Only then can the bullet be superimposed with extreme precision in order to break through the core's defenses and trigger the energy explosion. This type of vehicle detonation technique is extremely difficult to operate. I didn't think that I would be able to experience 6 paths vehicle detonation technique in my lifetime. Chi-Chi spoke with excitement. Fake Taoist priest's expression darkened. You died a long time ago. Experience my A**s. Look at how excited you are. Whose side are you on? Chi-Chi's voice faltered upon hearing this, and she scratched her head with a sheepish smile. I'm sorry, I was too excited just now. Fake Taoist priest and Naja are very good players, were only injured by the explosion because they ran away quickly. They borrowed the cover of the explosion to quickly run into another building, forming a straight line with 6 paths. 6 paths had no time to pay attention to all of the fans in the livestream channel. He was paying close attention to all of the enemy's actions, and he naturally also noticed fake Taoist priest and Naja running into that building. Very good reaction speed. However, I still have 5 bullets, and that's more than enough to kill the 2 of you. I'll definitely be the one to survive in the end. Chapter 1806. The 6 paths displayed his invincible dominance on the battlefield with his Dragon Falcon sniper rifle in hand. Each and every bullet was perfectly executed. This was the marksmanship god who struck fear into the hearts of all Emperor-level enemies. Which direction will he launch a surprise attack on me from next? The balcony? The rooftop? Or those 4 windows? The 6 paths' eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as he quickly searched for the enemy's location. All of a sudden, a black shadow appeared from the door leading to the rooftop. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths was extremely fast, and he instantly aimed before pulling the trigger without any hesitation. He had even predicted the enemy's movement trajectory in advance. Bam! The bullet left the chamber. The inky black bullet struck the black shadow, and sparks flew in all directions. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths' pupils contracted. This black shadow wasn't an enemy. It was a frying pan. Right at this moment, 2 figures sprinted toward the rooftop like lightning before leaping into the air at an extremely fast speed and landing on a nearby building. They were trying to close in on Lin while his sniper rifle was reloading. Cover me! The Taoist priest of the 6 paths roared. The 2 spectators had already made it to the rooftop, and one of them fired his rifle while the other pulled out a high-explosive grenade. However, the 2 of them were extremely fast, and the spectator's rifle was completely unable to keep up with them. Lin was able to deflect some of the bullets with his frying pan, which already had a hole in it. This incredible scene had all of the spectators astonished. Whoosh! Naja is not good at playing unleashed an arrow from his crossbow, which tore through the air and exploded the head of a spectator who was unable to evade in time. Kill notification. Naja is not good at playing killed me with Fu Yanjie using the godly Zhuge crossbow. Holy F***ck. He's jumping around and exploding the head with a crossbow at the same time. What kind of godly skill is this? Oh my god, which big boss's sock puppet is this? That's insane. None of the Emperor-level streamers I've seen are like this. All of the spectators in the stream were completely dumbstruck. They didn't know what to say aside from yelling 666. Chi-Chi was screaming with excitement, and Naja couldn't help but mute her voice. At this time, the last fanbase player had already thrown a high-explosive grenade at the opponent. The grenade will explode in 6 seconds, and he's already been holding it for 3 seconds. Fake Taoist priest murmured to himself as he switched from his frying pan to his handgun before firing a shot at the grenade in the air. The bullet struck the grenade in mid-air, and sparks flew as the grenade changed direction to fly toward the Taoist priest of the 6 paths, F***ck. The fanatic who threw the grenade was dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Was he using a cheat code? The Taoist priest of the 6 paths immediately dove to the side. Rumble! An earth-shattering explosion came from the rooftop. Rubble flew everywhere, and the surroundings became a sea of fire. Kill notification. Fake Taoist priest killed my boyfriend with a grenade. Diabetes caused me to have cavities. At this point in the battle, everyone was already dumbfounded. An extremely urgent situation could test the quality of a top expert. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths gripped the handle of his sniper rifle tightly in one hand while holding his spear in the other. His eyes were extremely sharp, and he aimed through the flames and smoke toward the leaping Najah before pulling the trigger. This sequence of actions took less than half a second. Najah leaped into the air to gain the vision of the Taoist priest of the Six Paths, who was lying on his side on the rooftop. A crimson arrow tore through the air from the godly Juga crossbow. Bam! Whoosh! The inky black bullet and the crimson arrow tore through the air at the same time, leaving lethal trajectories in their wake. Then, they collided together, blossoming with black and scarlet light, exploding and interweaving. This was something that had never happened in the history of the game. All of the fans and the Taoist priest of the Six Paths were completely dumbstruck. The sound of something shattering erupted. The arrow was destroyed by the tough sniper bullet. F***CK. Najah is a noob cursed as a bloody hole appeared in his head. A kill notification popped up. The Six Paths killed Najah is a noob with his Dragon Falcon sniper rifle. Najah finally died because the bullet wasn't tough enough. Nice. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths yelled with excitement as he quickly reloaded his gun and was just about to take aim when he discovered that someone was already pouncing toward him from the side. Holy F***CK. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths shuddered with fear. He was just about to evade when the inky black frying pan came crashing down mercilessly. Bam! Game notification. Fake Taoist priest killed the Six Paths with a frying pan. Great luck. Chicken dinner tonight. Congratulations to the false immortal team for securing the final victory. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths, the millions of fans watching the livestream. I was killed by a frying pan? The Taoist priest of the Six Paths was suddenly starting to doubt his life. He had never been killed by a frying pan ever since he started playing this game. What a joke. He was the god of slaying in PUBG. How could he die to a frying pan? However, this scene really happened right in front of him. All of the fans watching the livestream also fell silent. They had just witnessed the most astonishing and bizarre battle in the history of PUBG. This was a battle that would go down in the history of PUBG. Even now, they were still trying to digest the astonishment brought about by this battle. Chi-Chi stared blankly at the chicken dinner for a long time, and she was a little dazed. A few seconds later, her face flushed red as she yelled with excitement, "Fake Taoist priest is so bad *SS? Ah. Please stop yelling like a groundhog." Unlin was speechless. Fake Taoist priest killed the Taoist priest of the Six Paths with a frying pan. How exciting. Ah. Fake Taoist priest is bad *SS. Najah is bad *SS. Dubai is bad *SS. Chi-Chi screamed like a crazed groundhog. It was obvious that she was so excited that she could barely control her emotions. This was like playing League of Legends 100 years ago. You and 4 bronze-ranked players were matched up against Faker's team. You thought you were dead for sure, but in the end, you were led by 4 bronze-ranked players and defeated the opposing team with an extremely bizarre lineup. This was an indescribable sense of shock that made her want to run naked on the streets. Outside, a beautiful woman suddenly burst through the door upon hearing Chi-Chi's cries. "Chi-Chi, are you still playing games? Hurry up and rest, you still have classes tomorrow." The beautiful woman chided. "Mommy, I met a few very powerful teammates. They even defeated the Six Paths sniper god. They're super bad *SS. Chi-Chi's face was flushed with excitement as she waved her little hands through the air. The beautiful woman's expression immediately darkened. "What the hell are you talking about? Stop playing games with these shady people and get some rest." Chi-Chi pursed her pink lips and muttered, "There's a generation gap." She looked at the time to find that it was already past midnight, so she could only reluctantly say, "Fake Taoist priest, Najah, Dubai, I still have classes every day, so I have to log off now. It's already so late, are you guys still not going to bed? We're going to play games all night. fake Taoist priest replied. Are you all internet addicts? That's not good for your health. Chi-Chi's brows furrowed. Fake Taoist priest replied with a resigned expression, we have no choice. We have to protect Earth and block off our enemies. We can't slack off at all times. Ha ha! Chi-Chi chortled with glee as she kicked her blanket a few times. That's a really weird excuse, but it suits your style. Let's add each other as friends and fly together. I have a lowly voice, I know how to whine, I know how to act cute, and I know how to yell 666, Chi-Chi pleaded in a soft voice. And Lin and the others didn't really mind, so they added each other as friends. Chi-Chi happily said goodnight and went to sleep soundly. What a marvelous game, she clutched onto her blanket, revealing only her little head as she sighed with emotion. Chapter 1807. Deep within the Kunlun mountain ranges, 2 humans and 1 dog sat around a massive crack with a starputer in each of them. That was terrible, we almost screwed up, woof. Dabai sighed with emotion. It couldn't be helped. We encountered the god of slaughter in a random game. It's already very impressive that we were able to secure a narrow victory. Najara recalled the previous battle and felt like it was quite a spectacular one. And Lin nodded. The 6 gods are actually very powerful. We had 3 gods and 1 noob, while he had 3 noobs. Otherwise, it would be hard to say who would have won. Games were only fun when there was a challenge. They had almost lost the first game, but not only did they not lose interest in the game, they were even more intrigued. After chatting for a while, they began the second game. Elsewhere in the Hua Nation, the Taoist priest of the 6 paths ignored the livestream channel. He stared blankly at fake Taoist priest. Najah doesn't know how to play, and Dabai is very pure. For some reason, these 3 IDs reminded him of a certain powerful figure in the Cultivator group. He had initially thought that it was a coincidence that they shared the same name. However, that monstrous control and reaction speed, as well as the fact that there was only 1 game, as well as the name Najah, all of this pointed to a certain possibility. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths was suddenly enlightened. F***ck. So I was defeated by someone like this? I can brag about it for the rest of my life if I almost beat that guy. With this in mind, the Taoist priest couldn't help but chuckle to himself. He was clearly in a very good mood. He restarted his livestream. His fans thought that he would be very dejected after being slapped to death by the frying pan, but to their surprise, he was in a very good mood, as if he had just won the lottery. All of the fans were dumbstruck, and they suddenly felt like this Taoist priest of the 6 paths was in a very good mood. The night passed by slowly. Another peaceful day passed by. The heavenly human tribe's attacks had slowed down, and there were only a few heavenly human tribe cultivators who would emerge to test the waters. As for a large-scale attack, they had yet to appear. Is Nuwa still not out yet? Neza yawned. The red armillary sash behind him turned into a recliner, and he lay on it lazily. This matter involves the invasion of the heavenly Tao, and the heavenly human tribe is determined to obtain the humans on Earth. No matter how Nuwa deals with it, she has to be cautious. It's understandable that her progress is a little slow. And Lin basked in the morning sun as he held a bottle of immortal-grade fruit wine in a lotus leaf container in his hand, sipping it with relish. Ing Luoqing was patrolling around Kunlun Mountain with a group of Japanese cultivators. After a round of patrolling, he didn't forget to greet Lin with a smile, as if nothing had happened last night. Outside the aqua-blue planet, the 88 starships began to pass by the moon. The moon was no longer mysterious to humans on Earth. It was just a large bumpy satellite. As the saying goes, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Looking at the moon from Earth, it was like a white, flawless disk. But from a close distance, it was just a stone ball full of dents. There was nothing strange or special about it. A tall and straight middle-aged man in a blue military uniform with white stars stood at the forefront of the starry sky battleship, quietly looking at the large sphere floating in space in the distance. Great General, the fleet is approaching the closest point to the moon. Should we land on the moon for some rest and recuperation? A woman in a white military uniform with short hair asked with a respectful expression. Each of the 88 starships had a general leading a space army of 3,000. However, among the space army of over 200,000, Lu Songhai was the only great general. Lu Songhai's brows furrowed even more as he looked at the approaching moon. He had a special ability, which was some kind of premonition ability that allowed him to predict the future. This ability was actually one of the reasons why he was able to become the great general of the space army. Great General Lu? The woman couldn't help but call out again upon seeing Lu Songhai's silence. Lu Songhai didn't give her an answer. Major General Yang Xian, what do you think our starships have against a Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly human tribe cultivator? They were all very high-ranking officials, so they knew the details of the battle at Kunlun. Yang Xian straightened her body and replied with a calm expression, Earth's military technology has developed to this point, and there are many weapons that cannot be used on Earth in order to avoid causing irreversible disasters. However, our starships have all of the top-tier weapons that the Dawn is unable to equip. The combined power of the 88 starships is far beyond anyone's imagination. If we allow it, we can even blast the moon in front of us into cosmic dust within a minute. Cut the crap, what are our chances of victory? Lu Songhai asked. Yang Xian replied, 0%. Lu Songhai. Then why did you brag so much earlier and lay so much groundwork? Lu Songhai looked up at the vast starry sky. Confidence is very important in a war. If an army loses confidence, then even if they have the best weapons and the power to turn the tide of the battle, they could still become deserters. You're right, Great General. Yang Xian lowered her head. Lu Songhai waved a hand. Space is indeed an insurmountable obstacle for us, but we have other ways to deal with Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly humans. There are many things we can do, so don't underestimate yourself. Yang Xian was a little perplexed, but she still nodded. Only the higher-ups of the military knew just how powerful Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly humans were. All of the human politicians and military officials were looking at this war with a very pessimistic outlook. If it weren't for the fact that Enlin and the others were holding the fort in the human army, the morale of the human army would have already been thrown into disarray. Notify all of the starships to leave the moon at full speed, Lu Songhai suddenly instructed. Yes. Yang Xian extended a military salute before carrying out her mission. All of the starships unleashed a burst of blue energy before quickly turning around and flying in another direction. Beside a massive crater on the moon, on a circular mountain range, a violent explosion suddenly erupted. Dazzling holy light radiated outward, illuminating the entire moon. A dark rift, which looked like a massive scar on the moon, was right next to the light source, and it seemed to be able to engulf all light, presenting a particularly terrifying sight to behold. Lu Songhai saw this through the transparent barrier, and he murmured to himself, "We were still too late. Who would have thought that the largest rift on Earth would be on the moon instead of Earth? Great General! That's the power of the heavenly human tribe." Yang Xian's expression was no longer able to remain calm at the sight of the blinding holy light and the massive rift. "Don't panic. Do you remember what I said? There are many things we can do, so don't underestimate yourself," Lu Songhai said in a calm voice. The red warning light from the starships was already flashing in the starry sky. "Then what should we do?" Yang Xian's breathing accelerated. Lu Songhai waved a hand. "Summon Enlin and Neja as quickly as possible." Yang Xian. Chapter 1808. There were many things they could do. But all they had to do now was call for reinforcements? Everyone, disperse and form into battle formation. Lu Songhai issued a command through the broadcast system. A series of massive starships that were several kilometers in length began to transform. A series of massive cannons extended from their bodies, all of which were aimed toward the crack on the moon. Silver particle energy formed a white light barrier around the starships, which was able to withstand a nuclear bomb attack without being harmed in the slightest. At this moment, over 1,000 figures had already flown out from the crack, all of which were glowing with dazzling holy light, as if they were angels descending upon this world. Life forms detected, 1,672. The mechanical voice said. The starships instantly confirmed the number of enemies. Fire. Lu Songhai issued an attack command. Bursts of golden light instantly erupted from the cannons of the starships as high-density particle energy blasts rained down upon the massive crack on the moon, upon which a sea of destructive light erupted. 5 life forms remaining. The mechanical voice sounded again. Continue firing. Lu Songhai's brows furrowed. Boom, 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 the starships rumbled. Particle energy blasts erupted. Antimatter annihilation blasts were fired. Super electromagnetic railguns also began to blast forth. Inky black kinetic energy blasts left a dazzling arc of high-energy lightning in their wake. A physical collision of this caliber could even shift the moon's orbit. Dark green life annihilation blasts also erupted from the main cannons. Particle energy, matter antimatter, physical kinetic energy, biochemical annihilation. All of the most powerful cannon blasts were unleashed at the same time. The 88 starships treated their opponent as their most powerful enemy and unleashed all of their trump cards without any hesitation. They had unleashed their trump card right from the get-go. The massive black crack on the moon was on the brink of shattering from the bombardment of cannon blasts. 5 life forms remaining, 5 life forms remaining, the mechanical voice repeated again and again. This sentence was like the most despairing voice that could be heard echoing throughout the entire starship. Unlin, have you notified Najah and the others? Lu Songhai asked in an indifferent voice. I've already notified them, they're on their way. Yang Xian replied with her head lowered. She clenched her fists tightly to prevent her body from trembling with fear. Whoosh! A white spear of light pierced through the barrage of cannons, leaving a dazzling trail in the dark void as it shot toward one of the starships at an extremely fast speed. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! The commander on the ship yelled. The starship began to move at high speed. However, its movement speed was like that of a slow tortoise in front of the light spear. Rip! The angle of the white spear of light shifted slightly. Like a bolt of white lightning, it tore apart the white light barrier constructed by the silver particles and pierced through its head. It went all the way through and shot out from its tail like a steel needle piercing through a sausage. Rumble! The energy core of the starship exploded, and a world-shaking explosion occurred. Boundless flames and destructive energy instantly devoured the lives of the 3,000 people in the giant ship. When the space army saw this, they were either shocked, desperate, or angry. Foolish and weak humans, your resistance is meaningless. A voice that was as mighty as that of a paramount god pierced through space and reverberated in the ears of all of the humans, striking fear into their hearts. 5 heavenly human tribe mighty figures had holy light enshrouding their bodies to the extreme as they tore through the barrage of cannons before pouncing toward the remaining 87 starships at an extremely fast speed. Lu Songhai's voice sounded from all of the starships. Keep firing. Persevere. We're the most important line of defense in this war. We can't let the enemy break through. His voice had only just fallen when a spear of light tore through space and destroyed another starship. The light from the explosion was like a sun hanging high in the sky. Another heavenly human tribe great general materialized a 1,000-meter-long holy sword in his hand before flashing toward one of the starships, upon which the white sword blade fell and sliced the massive starship in half before exploding. The other 3 heavenly human tribe mighty figures also closed in on the fleet like tigers pouncing on a flock of sheep. Each and every one of their attacks was powerful enough to destroy a starship. One starship after another exploded violently in the starry sky. It was as if a series of miniature suns had bloomed, creating an extremely dazzling spectacle. In the countries on Earth where it was still nighttime, people couldn't help but raise their heads and look at the twinkling balls of light next to the moon in the night sky. It shocked the night sky, and there was an inexplicable sense of beauty and heroism. "Look, Mommy! They're so beautiful! Are those fireworks?" the little girl asked excitedly as she pointed at the night sky with her tender little hand. "No, child. Those are our heroes unleashing their light." The woman stared blankly at the scenes unfolding in the night sky with tears flowing down her face. "Mommy, why are you crying?" The little girl was a little flustered. "Silly child, your daddy is up there as well. Look up." The woman stroked the little girl's head. Both of them looked up at the spectacular scenes unfolding in the night sky. Near the moon, one starship after another was destroyed by the Heavenly Human Tribe Great Generals. The 5 Heavenly Human Tribe Great Generals were sweeping through their fleet with ease. The mighty starships had suffered heavy casualties in the blink of an eye. This was a massacre, a one-sided massacre. In fact, the Heavenly Human Tribe could annihilate the enemy without suffering any damage. "We can't, Marshal. Our resistance and attacks are completely meaningless. Let's retreat." Some of the generals couldn't take it anymore and shouted at the marshal. Lu Songhai said indifferently, "Retreat? Behind us is Earth. If we retreat, who will protect the people on Earth? Once you become part of the Space Army, you must be prepared to die in space and swear to block the enemy outside of Earth." Lu Songhai's words made all of the generals fall silent. "Damn it, let's fight it out with these birdmen. Kill them. Even if we can't kill them, we have to let them know that we humans are not a weak race that can be easily bullied. We would rather die than retreat." "I'd rather die than retreat." Be it the officers or the soldiers, they all roared in unison. Boom, boom, boom. The light from the explosion of the giant warships around them made their eyes look like they were burning in flames. The Heavenly Human Tribe destroyed one battleship after another in an invincible manner, but the formation of the battleships didn't change in the slightest. Their cannon fire never ceased, and it continued to rain down upon the Heavenly Human Tribe. The roar of the cannons sounded like the unwilling roars of humans. Even if they couldn't shatter the heavens or even reach the height of the heavens, they would still throw punches into the sky with their bloody fists. Chapter 1809. There were a total of 88 battleships in the fleet, which had expended countless resources of the human race to select the most exceptional soldiers. This was the first time they had engaged in battle since their founding. However, this first battle was almost going to be their last. The intensity of the battle was completely unexpected to everyone. The explosion of the battleships was the most spectacular moment of their lives. The Heavenly Human Tribe Great General wielded 2 Aurora wheels and sliced one of the battleships into 3 sections. The battleship's tough alloy shell was as fragile as butter in her eyes. Boom! The explosion lit up the starry sky. The female Great General raised her chin and looked down with an arrogant expression at the wailing humans down below. "The human race's space army? What a joke! You're nothing more than a fat ant." After slicing through one battleship, she turned toward another battleship in the distance. That battleship gave her a very special feeling, as if all of the battleships were lined up around that one battleship. "Hee, even though you're all going to die, I still like the feeling of killing the leader first." The Heavenly Human Tribe Great General smiled as her body transformed into a streak of pure white light and flew toward that battleship. Ferocious cannon blasts crashed relentlessly into her body. However, they were unable to break through her protective holy light. Lu Songhai looked at the approaching Heavenly Human Tribe Great General, and his killing intent threatened to freeze the entire space around him. He heaved a faint sigh. "Everyone, I'm going to go on ahead." The 2 Aurora wheels were like the sharpest blades in the world, slicing through the massive battleship that Lu Songhai was on with ease before continuing onward. Ding! A crisp chime erupted. Everything in the air had come to a standstill. Both the Aurora Wheels and the female Great General's actions were completely still. Even the expressions of the soldiers on the battleship had congealed. Yang Xian's fear of death and reluctance to part with the world, the soldiers' rage and despair, and Lu Songhai's weariness were all on full display. A man in a white robe had appeared at the forefront of their battleship. Slap! Slap! The Aurora Wheels were shattered by the man with his bare hands. A look of horror appeared on the heavenly human tribe Great General's face. She wanted to move, only to find that the space around her had completely congealed, rendering her completely powerless. Is it fun to always bully mortals? Unlin looked at the floating warship wreckage and sighed softly. If you have the ability, come and bully me. The heavenly human tribe Great General's body trembled slightly, but she was still unable to move. All she could see was a palm growing larger and larger in her field of vision. Bam! The previously invincible female marshal was smashed into minced meat with a single slap. He didn't even have the chance to move. Hiss. Almost everyone in the space army who witnessed this could not help but take a deep breath. What kind of terrifying power was this? In the distance, a streak of crimson flames tore through the air as Najah hurtled toward them atop his wind flame wheels. His fire-tipped spear whistled through the air and knocked back one of the heavenly human tribe Great Generals. The heavenly human tribe Great Generals couldn't be bothered to fight with Neza anymore. They quickly gathered together. Crap, it's Enlin! Let's form a joint formation. Don't fight him one-on-one. The 4 surviving heavenly human tribe Great Generals quickly gathered together as if they were facing a formidable foe. The 3 of us are comparable to veteran Dao integration stage super mighty figures when we form a joint formation. Now that there are 4 of us, we should be able to hold off Enlin for a while. Damn it! No wonder Great General Qing Luo fell. Let's retreat for now. The 4 Heaven Pioneers stage Great Generals formed a special rhomboid formation with holy light revolving around them, which was imbued with the power of the great Tao of heaven and earth. After forming a joint attack formation, they flew toward the crack on the moon without hesitation. That's right, they had no intention of fighting Enlin at all. The heavenly human tribe Great General's pride and battle intent had been completely vanquished by Enlin's mere appearance. What kind of intimidating force was this? You want to run? Enlin chuckled coldly, and his body tremored as a semi-transparent blue image of Enlin leaped out from his body before chasing after the 4 heavenly human tribe Great Generals at an extremely terrifying speed. Boundless soul power instantly engulfed the starry sky within a radius of over 500 kilometers before crushing the heavenly human tribe Great Generals in a frenzy. The white rhomboid holy light formation suddenly began to tremor at this moment. Crap! What a terrifying soul power! Just the aura alone is enough to make us feel like we're about to collapse. This is a god of creation stage soul power. How could this be? Isn't Enlin only at the return to void stage? All of the heavenly human tribe Great Generals were astonished. At this moment, the blue soul form Enlin had already closed in on the heavenly human tribe Great Generals, and a golden soul power suddenly surged from his hand. Do you dare to take a sword strike from me? The heavenly human tribe Great General's heart thumped wildly. I can let you run for another 800 kilometers. The golden soul power in Enlin's hand erupted with a light even more dazzling than the sun, piercing through the starry sky for over 500 kilometers, as if it could slice the entire starry sky in half. No! The heavenly human tribe Great Generals were completely unable to evade the merciless golden sword strike, and fear finally appeared on their faces. Whoosh! The golden sword strike easily tore through the enemy's spell formation before pulverizing the consciousness of the 4 heavenly human tribe Great Generals. In the end, even their bodies were annihilated. All of the Imperial Air Force soldiers stared at the dazzling golden sword strike in the starry sky with shock and fascination welling up in their eyes. What a beautiful sight! It was like the first ray of light piercing through the darkness. "Mommy, look, it's a shooting star." The little girl pointed at the golden streak in the sky. The little girl clasped her hand over her mouth as she stared blankly at the dazzling golden light. On Earth, all of the people looking up at the night sky with their naked eyes were envious of the dazzling golden light. All of the people spectating the battle through high-powered binoculars were completely dumbstruck. Only by drawing closer could they truly experience just how spectacular that sword strike was. The battle drew to a conclusion. Only a white-robed man still stood in midair with his robes flapping in the wind. "So humans can also reach such heights?" a general murmured to himself as he looked at the white-robed figure. "Slaying 4 heaven-opening stage cultivators with a single sword strike, our human race has been greatly enhanced. He must be the most powerful being on Earth, Unlin, right? Even I, who believe in collectivism, can't help but be fascinated by his power. In any case, Unlin is a powerful being from Earth. There's still hope for us humans." A general sighed with emotion as if he had just survived a calamity. All of these generals were high-ranking military officials who knew a lot about Unlin, and they were able to identify him as soon as he attacked. Unlin turned around and looked at the wreckage floating in the air, as well as the remaining half of the starship, upon which he bowed deeply. He then stepped forward and abruptly charged toward the massive crack on the moon. Chapter 1810. Hee hee, how impressive. To think that 5 heavenly human tribe great generals would be able to get in here at once. This crack is pretty big, and it's almost broken through the barrier. And Lin's expression became colder and colder. If Heaven Pioneer Stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings could appear on Earth in large numbers, then what was the point of Nuwa's fortification? If Tao Integration Stage super mighty figures couldn't enter, then Return to Void Stage super mighty figures were going to be able to keep these enemies at bay. "Calm down, Mr. Unlin." Naja immediately gave chase upon seeing this. "Wait for me, big brother," and woof. Dabai hurriedly followed along behind him. When the Imperial Air Force soldiers saw that a giant white dog could travel naked in space, it had a huge impact on their worldview. They had seen cultivators fly through the air, but they had never seen a dog that could fly out of Earth and roam through space without a protective suit. Unlin flew toward the massive, inky black crack and sensed the chaotic and powerful aura up ahead. This was the aura released by the passageway between the two worlds. To think that they would open such a massive crack in order to destroy the barrier. Unlin unleashed his God of Creation stage consciousness and forced his way into the inky black crack. Very good. This passageway between the two worlds is no longer restricted to heavenly human tribe cultivators. Unlin took a deep breath as an eager expression appeared on his face. Liquid suddenly appeared over his body, forming a water humanoid figure before slowly materializing into his own appearance. Unlin dripped another drop of blood essence before injecting a wisp of his consciousness into the water humanoid figure. Boom! A terrifying aura erupted from Unlin's body. What a powerful clone! Neza, who had rushed over from afar, was shocked by the clone's aura. Unlin nodded. Aside from being unable to use the powers of the heavenly gods and some essential spell techniques, this clone's combat prowess is not much inferior to mine. It's comparable to a Tao Integration Final Stage super mighty figure, but it only has a time limit of 15 minutes. That's right, this was the water clone that Unlin had condensed using the Divine Fortune liquid cultivation method. Water Unlin glanced at Unlin and understood. He violently charged into the pitch-black crack and crossed the two worlds. He wanted to see just what was behind the tunnel. In the chaotic and unstable tunnel, he could be torn apart by the chaotic turbulence at any time. The tunnel was extremely unstable, and there was also the self-protection mechanism of the Wa world. Without the violent intervention of a powerful being, the tunnel would have already finished shrinking on its own. There's a terrifying force that's able to resist the formidable power of Earth and Nuwa, and it's maintaining the opening of the passageway. Unlin's clone sensed everything within the passageway, and his speed increased even further. Soon, Unlin saw an exit that was emitting gentle holy light. He took a step forward and crossed the exit. Rumble, his vision changed. Unlin witnessed an extremely unforgettable scene. It was as if he had arrived at a true holy land. 9-colored auspicious energy rose up from the ground, and vital energy transformed into streams that flowed through the ground. A series of lavish white palaces were situated on a grassy plain, and they reflected a dazzling light under the light in the sky. There were divine trees over 100,000 feet tall, and they grew along a mountain that was so tall that its height couldn't be seen. There were a few dozen of them at a rough glance, and they were distributed in a circular pattern. Their leaves were pink and they swayed in the wind like pink waves. Countless adorable heavenly humans danced around the divine trees, playing and playing with one another. There were all kinds of exotic plants growing on the ground, and all of them were at the spirit rank or above. The powerful energy fluctuations emanating from them could even affect heaven and earth. There were 1 or 2 strange plants that could move on their own, and they would nibble on flowers and grass from time to time. These were divine rank plants that had already attained divinity. In the sky above, there were all types of strange-looking beasts that Unlin had never seen before, and all of them possessed extremely terrifying auras. Each and every one of them would exhale a peculiar energy to nourish heaven and earth. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a plain in the extremely far distance, from which holy light descended. There were a series of trees over 10,000 feet tall growing there, and all of them were absorbing the energy of the holy light to their heart's content. Green vines hung from the vines, upon which hung a series of massive eggs. Most of these eggs were white, but there were also light yellow, dark yellow, golden, and a very small number of black eggs. This was a place that contained massive life force and great fortune. Unlin had only seen this in one place, and that was Tina's blessed land. Furthermore, this place was even more spectacular and complete than the immortal paradise that Tina had constructed in an entire world. Unlin was astonished by the scene before his eyes. However, he didn't have time to sigh with emotion. As soon as he made his way out of the gate, he discovered that there were a large number of heavenly human tribe powerful beings gathered outside, and all of them were looking at him with extremely hostile expressions. There were 100,000 spirit refining stage powerful beings, 3,000 arcane body stage powerful beings, 200 soul piercing stage powerful beings, and 3 heaven pioneer stage powerful beings. Unlin looked at the heavenly human tribe powerful beings, and the heavenly human tribe powerful beings looked back at Unlin. Both sides fell silent at the same time. No wonder the Earth Annihilation Team failed. Nuwa sent you to defend Earth. An extremely clear and gentle voice sounded. All of the heavenly human tribe powerful beings bowed their heads in an extremely respectful manner. A woman with long, dark green hair in a light green dress made her way out of Unlin's sight. She was so beautiful that it felt as if she were an illusion. She seemed to have fused with the entire world in a beautiful and natural manner. Unlin knew that this was an enemy, but he couldn't muster up any animosity. Unlin, why didn't you inform me in advance that you were coming to visit me? The woman's orange eyes crinkled slightly, and she extended a slender hand that was adorned with a flower garland to express her goodwill. Why didn't you inform me in advance when you sent someone to visit my Earth? Unlin ignored the woman's outstretched hand as he spoke in a cold voice. The woman was stunned. Her pointy, white, and tender ears twitched slightly. She clearly didn't expect Unlin's reaction to be like this. You really are just as the rumors say. You're not afraid of anyone and even dare to talk back to me. The woman looked at Unlin, and her bright orange eyes blinked with intrigue as if they could speak. I'm not even afraid of the heavens, so why would I be afraid of you? Unlin replied. He had already seen the green divine halo above her head, but so what? She was just a heavenly god, and he had killed many of them in the past. Who didn't have a divine halo or two? Impressive. He's not even taking the heavenly gods, who are the paramount beings who control life and death, seriously. The woman stroked her chin with a contemplative look in her eyes. What exactly are you relying on? Unlin's heart jolted upon hearing this. Holy F***ck. This woman was the heavenly life god. Chapter 1811. I've always thought that the heavenly human tribe was a living being nurtured by light, the ocean, and the earth. Who would have thought that the heavenly life goddess would also be involved? Unlin looked at the woman before him. The most important factor in creating living beings was life. The heavenly life goddess spread open her palm, upon which a ball of energy imbued with boundless vitality was swimming. Life is a mass of true origin chi, coupled with the ancient and modern principles of life. It was born from me, but it also transcends beyond me. Its very existence represents infinite possibilities. The woman spoke in a gentle voice as she extended the ball of light in her hand toward Unlin. Unlin was struck by an involuntary sense of awe and veneration as he looked at the ball of transparent energy. The ball of energy hadn't even taken form yet, but the boundless possibilities imbued within it struck him with a sense of grandeur. Unlin was in awe of life. Isn't it beautiful? The heavenly life goddess asked with a smile. Unlin couldn't help but nod in response. He had seen the essence of life, and it was indeed very beautiful. The heavenly life goddess exhaled lightly. I've always been thought of as the weakest paramount heavenly god, but that's not because I'm weak. Instead, it's because I can't truly control life. Life is the most noble thing in this world. Life can replace the heavens, create heaven and earth, create everything, transcend everything, and reach a level that even I can't imagine. So, I'm really not up to par as the heavenly god of life. A hint of dejection appeared on the woman's flawless face. Her pitiable expression made one want to take pity on her. Unlin thought about it and found that this was indeed the case. Life was the most powerful element in this world. For example, as awesome as he was also a part of life. The heavenly life goddess couldn't do anything to him. I'm very useless, but I still want to do my job well. The heavenly life goddess lowered her head like a stubborn little girl. She stretched out her other hand. In her slender and fair palm, there was another ball of air flowing, releasing a mysterious aura. These balls of energy are the essence of life, and they're very beautiful. All living beings on the Tai-Chu continent are balls of energy to me as well. However, those air masses are sick. They will destroy this world. The heavenly life goddess appraised Unlin with a serious expression. If you fall ill and you don't receive treatment, there's a very good chance that you'll die. Would you allow your illness to continue to spread? Unlin fell silent. The heavenly life goddess continued, hence, I'm going to uproot all of the balls of air on the Tai-Chu continent. I'm going to eradicate all of them before replacing them with new balls of air that are filled with boundless possibilities. That way, the entire continent will be reborn. Is that why you want to eradicate all living beings on the Tai-Chu continent? Unlin asked. If you're sick, then you have to be treated, the heavenly life goddess replied. Unlin countered with a question of his own. How can you guarantee that the next ball of air won't turn bad? We'll continue to purge it after it's damaged, the heavenly life goddess replied without any hesitation. Her expression was extremely calm. It was quite clear that all of the living beings on the Tai-Chu continent were just wonderful balls of life to her, and she could create new ones at any time if they fell ill. Unlin knew that the heavenly life goddess viewed life from a completely different perspective than he did. Unlin looked at the beautiful and flawless woman before him. When life is forced into a corner, it might just be an injury, but it could very well become an incurable disease. But if you can give them a chance to recognize their mistakes and learn from them, their purity and probability of making mistakes will be much better than if you create new lives. Unlin tried to convince her from the heavenly life goddess's perspective. However, the heavenly life goddess still shook her head. These balls of air are beyond saving. I gave them a chance a long, long time ago, but they still hurt me. If I allow them to continue to develop, then I'll truly be afflicted with an incurable disease. The negotiations fell apart at this moment. However, the heavenly life goddess still turned to Enlin with a friendly smile. I'm meeting you because I want to ask you if you're interested in cooperating with me. Enlin's heart jolted with shock. A heavenly god who wanted to destroy all life forms on the Tai Chu continent wanted to cooperate with him? Had she gone insane? If you help me destroy all life forms on the Tai Chu continent, I can let you choose 10 lives to live happily ever after. The heavenly life goddess asked with a smile, How about that? My apologies, I have too many people under my protection, so I don't have enough people to spare, Enlin replied. How many people do you have under your protection? The number of people is negotiable, the heavenly life goddess replied in a gentle voice. Enlin paused for a few seconds before replying, About 300 billion. The heavenly life goddess's pointy ears trembled slightly. Didn't you say the number of people is negotiable? Enlin asked with an expectant expression. The heavenly life goddess, he. This guy probably had the entire human race under his wing. Was he dreaming if he was going to use this to negotiate with her? Or was she just messing with her? Ding, a green dagger appeared in the woman's hand. Enlin's eyelids twitched. You want to use force? Let's see just how powerful the paramount heavenly god life goddess is. Boom! A terrifying power erupted from his body. The power of the Tao integration pinnacle stage swept up gale force winds around him. Splat! Before he even had a chance to attack, the green dagger had punctured his body. The heavenly life goddess had already appeared before him, and she plunged a green dagger into his heart. Blood gushed forth, staining her little hand red. Enlin looked at the exquisitely beautiful features right in front of him. Her sharp nose was almost touching his own, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. If you want to experience my power, I'm more than happy to oblige. But next time, please come with your true body, okay? The woman's lips pursed slightly as she took a deep breath toward Enlin. Pfft! Enlin's body suddenly began to quickly shrivel up as if it were leaking air. In less than a second, his body had been completely sucked dry by the woman. It was then completely transformed into energy that was absorbed into the heavenly life goddess body. An intoxicated expression appeared on the heavenly life goddess face, and her eyelashes trembled as she licked her little pink tongue. So delicious, outside the crack on the moon. Enlin's body shuddered as a vast amount of information flowed into his mind. He was extremely astonished by what he saw inside the crack. The heavenly life goddess is in there? What is that place? Why is the heavenly life goddess there? At this moment, within life's cabin, bam! A rainbow ball shattered violently. The woman's enraged voice sounded within the cabin. I've already conceded so much, yet you're still pushing your luck. Chapter 1812. Little black, little white, come in. Within the cabin of life, a woman's voice was as clear as a spring. The cold and solemn black spirit snake and the pure and adorable white spirit snake entered the room with respectful expressions on their faces. Little White pays his respects to your majesty. What can I do for you, your majesty? Release the seal on the fragment of the heavenly Tao. We're going to begin mending the heavens. We haven't collected all of the power of the heavenly Tao yet. Don't worry about it so much. Mending it first. On this day, rainbow light illuminated the boundless sky of the Tai Chu continent. White light soared into the sky from the ruins of the Purple Star civilization. Countless living beings began to grow in the wasteland that had been dead for over 10,000 years. Heaven and earth began to transform. The battle between the gods of creation and the heavens had officially begun with Nuwa's intervention. The heavenly Tao had been mended, and the heavenly human tribe on the Tai Chu continent was once again repressed. Regardless of whether it was Qi refinement stage or Heaven pioneer stage, heavenly human tribe, all of them were significantly weakened. The Kingdom of the Nine States, the Buddhist Kingdom of the West Sea Alliance, the Holy Paradise, the Spirit Lake Realm, the Demonic Realm, and the North Tsang Mountain Realm seemed to have heard some news and launched a large-scale attack on the heavenly human tribe. A war that swept across the entire continent erupted once again. After the heavenly human tribe was weakened, the balance of the war began to tilt in favor of the heavenly human tribe united army. Without the support of the heavenly gods, the Northern Heavenly Gate Heavenly Human Tribe United Army was almost completely wiped out by the human race, the North Tsang Mountain Realm, and the Demonic Realm. At the Eastern Heavenly Gate, the 7 heavenly gods gathered together with unsightly expressions on their faces. Nuwa has already begun mending the heavens, and the flaws in the heavenly Tao are being mended. As the heavenly Tao becomes more complete, the subconscious will of the heavenly Tao will be able to repress our power even more. The red-haired male heavenly god with a crimson divine halo above his head spoke with furrowed brows. My power has been weakened by about 10%. However, there's one good thing about this. As the heavenly Tao is perfected, the backlash we receive is no longer as fearsome as before. A young man wearing a purple magic hat with clown makeup on his face grinned. But overall, we still suffered a loss. The male heavenly god with the giant golden saber on his back said coldly, "We can't continue to cower. We have to end this battle." The other heavenly gods also grew restless. "Let's wait a little longer." An ethereal voice that sounded like the voice of heaven suddenly came. The heavenly deities all saw a golden sphere of light descend. All living things shone with light, the radiance matchless. In the domain of light, they all lowered their heads, and their expressions became respectful. Heavenly Light Goddess. The mass of light vaguely formed the outline of a human figure, and the voice came again. "Do you know why Goddess Nviwa suddenly accelerated the process of mending the heavens?" The Empyrean gods all shook their heads. The heavenly light god replied, "This is all the work of the heavenly life goddess. She joined forces with the heavenly heaven god to forcibly break open the barrier on Earth realm in an extremely violent manner in an attempt to destroy Earth realm. This infuriated Nuwa, and she began the mending of the heavens ahead of schedule." The moment these words came out, all the heavenly deities reacted. What a vicious heavenly life goddess! To think that she would plot against us as well. Isn't she just trying to instigate conflict between us and the human race united army? Is she trying to get rid of us as well before continuing to cleanse the entire continent? I really don't know where she gets her confidence from. One of the heavenly gods chuckled coldly. Light is supreme, eternal and inextinguishable. With the heavenly light goddess here, everything the heavenly life goddess does is futile. A heavenly god sitting on a huge pink folding fan said in an indifferent voice. Then, what does the heavenly light goddess intend to do? A lark with a divine halo emitting white smoke asked. The humanoid ball of light replied, "Pull back and continue to wait." How long do we have to wait? They're just a bunch of ants. If we unleash our full power, we'll be able to crush them all in less than a day. A male heavenly god with a huge golden saber on his back spoke with excitement. When the heavenly sea god descends upon the Taichu continent, it will be time for us to launch an all-out attack. The heavenly light goddess body transformed into specks of light as she spoke. The heavenly light goddess had made the final decision, and none of the heavenly gods dared to oppose her. They all lowered their heads and respectfully saw off the heavenly light goddess. Is the heavenly sea god still not able to descend? He was too impatient last time and sent out a living being that he created to destroy the human race. Who would have thought that he wouldn't even be able to conquer the West Sea? Now, he's been blacklisted by the heavenly Tao. If we want to destroy the barrier, we'll have to expend a lot more effort. A young man with clown makeup chuckled. Soon, the heavenly sea god will descend in less than a year. A heavenly god hidden in the shadows spoke in a faint voice. A year. Then let these pitiful humans be happy for another year. A lark with a divine halo emitting white smoke spoke in a crisp voice. Then about Nuwa's mending of the heavens. Don't worry, Nuwa's mending of the heavens isn't something that can be completed in a day. Just let her be. On Earth, beside the moon, Anlin stood guard beside the massive rift. His voice transmission talisman sounded. It was White Spirit Snake's voice. Anlin immediately picked up the voice transmission talisman and cut to the chase. Hey little Bai, hurry up and tell your big boss about Earth. There's a massive rift on the moon, and a few great generals of the Heaven Pioneer era have appeared. What's the point of fortifying the barrier? I am Nuwa. A warm and gentle voice sounded. Anlin's body shuddered, and his voice immediately became gentle. Oh, it's your Majesty Nuwa. Long time no see, hee. How have you been? Not bad. Thank you, Mr. Anlin, for taking care of Earth. I owe you one. Nuwa's sweet and gentle voice sounded from the other side of the voice transmission talisman, and Anlin's entire body was elated to hear it. You're welcome. Earth is also my home. Anlin spoke in a modest manner. If you really want to give me some compensation, then just give me some useful treasures. Don't give me spirit stones. I don't need money. Nuwa. The voice from the other side of the voice transmission talisman paused momentarily. After organizing her thoughts, Nuwa's voice sounded again. A paramount heavenly god has intervened in the destruction of the barrier on Earth. With my current abilities, I'm still unable to repair these rifts, so I can only maintain them in their current state. They can keep heavenly gods at bay, but Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly humans won't be able to do so. Anlin's brows furrowed tightly upon hearing this. Tao integration stage super mighty figures won't be able to enter, so we'll have to send return to void stage celestial immortals to fight the Heaven Pioneer era cultivators. However, a Heaven Pioneer era cultivator is almost as powerful as the weakest Tao integration stage super mighty figure. As such, we'll have to deploy our most elite return to void stage super mighty figures in order to keep them at bay. That's right. In that case, we won't be able to choose our most powerful beings. Nuwa was clearly quite distressed about this. She couldn't give up on Earth, but there were simply too few return to void stage super mighty figures who could stand up to great generals of the Heaven Pioneer era. If I could stay on Earth, then I could kill as many of them as they came. However, I still have to return to the Kingdom of the Nine States to kill heavenly gods. There aren't any return to void stage super mighty figures like me, so it really is a difficult choice. Anlin sighed with emotion. Nuwa. Both of them fell silent upon hearing this. After a short while, Anlin spoke again. Your Majesty Nuwa, I have a bold idea. What is it? Nuwa asked patiently. How about we completely open up the barrier to Earth? Anlin suggested. Chapter 1813. Completely open up the barrier between Earth and Earth? Nuwa's gentle and pleasant voice became a little more upbeat. If they didn't reinforce the barrier between Earth and Earth, the heavenly human tribe heavenly gods would be able to forcefully open up a passageway and invade Earth. If that were to happen, a heavenly god would be able to slice Earth in half with a single strike. That's right, if they want to come, we'll let them in. We'll also station some powerful beings here, so they can come if they're not afraid of death, Anlin said. Aren't you worried that the shock waves from the battle will affect Earth? You can open up a passageway outside of the solar system as the official passageway to this world. Once you open up a passageway, the power targeting the barrier between the two worlds will flow into the passageway you've opened up, and the cracks on Earth will disappear. Which means that we just have to guard one point. Anlin was brimming with confidence. It's not like I haven't thought of this method before. But don't you think that finding a Tao integration stage super mighty figure that can take on a heavenly god is more difficult than finding a return to void stage super mighty figure that can take on a Heaven Pioneer stage super mighty figure? Nuwa asked. Nuwa was right. Even a super mighty figure at the Tao integration pinnacle stage would be insta-killed in the face of a heavenly god. Prodigies like the ancient dragon empress, who could fight on par with a heavenly god, were extremely rare on the Tai Chu continent. As for candidates, I do have one in mind. Anlin chuckled. Don't tell me about the heavenly disciples and heavenly disciple candidates of the heaven-crushing sect. I'm worried about them. I'm afraid that they'll destroy the heavens of my earth and replace me, Nuwa said in a cold voice. Anlin, don't worry, Your Majesty, it has nothing to do with the heaven-crushing sect, Anlin assured. It can't be the celestial Dharch either. He's busy mending the heavens with me, Nuwa continued. Anlin shook his head. It can't be him either. A woman heaved a sigh of relief from the voice transmission talisman. Her voice was ethereal and gentle, just like the clouds in the mountains. That's a relief. According to what I know, your 4-9 immortal sect also has prodigies that can take on heavenly gods, so you can have them guard Earth. But in terms of combat strength, I'm afraid it's still somewhat lacking. Nuwa was still worried. Anlin chuckled. It's not what you're thinking. There's a new comrade who has recently joined our 4-9 immortal sect. She's super bad *SS and can at least hold her own against a heavenly god. She should be able to hold on until we arrive on Earth. Nuwa's curiosity was aroused. Who is it? Can you tell me more about it? Anlin replied, her name is Little Rabbit. Didn't White Spirit Snake or Black Spirit Snake tell you? This is how I met her, so and so, and so and so. Goddess Nviwa suddenly realized, so it's the heavenly king of West Hill. The mighty figures of the outside world have all chosen to stand by and watch this disaster. After all, this involves the heavenly Tao. Once they fail, they will easily fall into eternal damnation. I really didn't expect. Anlin, you actually managed to rope in this god of creation. Nuwa spoke with slight emotion, and her tone revealed undisguised praise. So, this plan? Anlin asked again. Alright. We'll do as you say. Nuwa made the final decision. At the 4-9 immortal sect, the Rabbit Maiden didn't even get a chance to enjoy her time here before she was summoned by Anlin to visit Earth. She was in high spirits as she wanted to see the culture of this small world. However, upon arriving there, she was struck by despair to discover that this wasn't a tour of Earth. This was a tour of Earth. Furthermore, it was a heavenly god. Wah, let go of me. I want to go back. The Rabbit Maiden sobbed with tears streaming down her face, and she tried to fly toward the heavenly court teleportation formation. However, to her surprise, Anlin wrapped his arms around her slender waist and dragged her back with all his might. Little Rabbit, have you forgotten the vow you made that day? Be careful, or your Tao foundation will crumble. Anlin held onto the Rabbit Maiden's supple waist to prevent her from getting away. Anlin, you be *starred. This isn't protecting you. This is asking me to die. I'm just an ordinary rabbit. Why do I have to endure all this? The Rabbit Maiden still wanted to get away. Thus, the two of them continued to tug at each other outside the solar system. Nuwa was a little speechless. I've already opened the passageway between the two worlds, and the door is right here. Can you two be serious? Nuwa, be the judge here. The Rabbit Maiden's eyes were filled with tears. I swore to protect him, not to protect Earth, but he's asking me to protect Earth? How is that fair? Fair enough, Nuwa replied. That's right. I knew it. He can't win this argument. The Rabbit Maiden faltered slightly as she stared blankly at Nuwa and Anlin, and tears began to flow from her eyes again. So you're on the same side. You're too cruel. You're not even sparing such an adorable rabbit. The Rabbit Maiden flared up with rage. That's not what you said when you ate the spicy rabbit cubes. Anlin spoke expressionlessly. The Rabbit Maiden, how about this? I'll cook a frying pan specialty for you every week as payment. How's that? Anlin took a step back. Gulp. The Rabbit Maiden swallowed nervously. She recalled the delicious spicy rabbit cubes from before, and her body was starting to become a little uncontrollable. Lin urged, can you do it or not? Just tell me. If not, I'll find someone else. If you stay close to me and protect me, I might have to fight a supreme heavenly god, so you better be mentally prepared. 2 meals a week, the rabbit maiden replied in a feeble voice. Lin blinked. All right. Deal. The rabbit maiden extended a hand and high-fived Lin. Nuwa's mouth gaped open as she looked on. A frying pan specialty twice a week was enough to make a god of creation work for him? Was the rabbit too easy to appease, or was Lin too good at cooking? Lin, if you get the chance next time, can you cook for me as well? Nuwa's eyes shimmered with anticipation and curiosity, and an extremely beautiful smile appeared on her face, as if she were the most beautiful scenery in the world. I'd be happy to serve you, your majesty, Lin replied in a gentlemanly manner. A gargantuan gate of light stood in the boundless space outside the solar system. Looking from afar, one could clearly see an aqua-blue Earth rotating, quietly making a beautiful planet in the distance. Xiao Fu, Xiao Peng, come out. Lin also unleashed his starless sky of slaughter formation disk and karma star protection divine disk, setting up 2 massive formations that encompassed an area with a radius of several hundred kilometers around the gate. They could absorb the power of the stars in this world and circulate on their own to accumulate energy. Even without anyone controlling them, they could keep a heavenly god at bay for a while. The rabbit maiden's combat prowess had improved significantly again. It could be said that unless a paramount heavenly god was involved, the rabbit maiden would not panic. In fact, she could even retaliate. Thus, the crisis on Earth was resolved. The rabbit maiden remained behind to guard the gate. Lin returned to Earth with an elated expression and went to play with Su Xiaolan and the others. Chapter 1814. Su Xiaolan rode her phoenix back to Earth. In a world where the most powerful beings were returned to Void Stage, the sudden appearance of 2 Dao Integration Stage super mighty figures created a massive stir that was comparable to a magnitude 10 earthquake. The cultivators in the cultivation group chat had already erupted into a frenzy. Green River Sword Immortal, have you heard? Su Xiaolan has returned to Earth. The Savior. How can you say that? How can you call a mighty figure by her name? We have to call her the Divine Phoenix Maiden. Tian Lingling. No way. Big Sister Lanlan will always be our Big Sister Lanlan. Taoist priest Yuan Mu sent a picture of a curious kitten. Seniors. Who is this senior Su Xiaolan you're talking about? Cloud exploring Taoist priest. She's outside of Earth. In the mysterious kingdom of the 9 states where immortals are as common as clouds, she's hailed as the #1 goddess. Taoist priest Yuan Mu. My God. Celestial Maiden Arowana. Holy F***CK. All of the newbies let loose cries of surprise. The Savior. In terms of cultivation base alone, she's at the Dao integration stage, which is above the return to void stage. In other words, she has created her own divine Dao and is acknowledged by the great Dao of heaven and earth to form a complete divine Dao. From then on, her divine Dao is indestructible, and her physical body is indestructible, allowing her to exist eternally in this world. Taoist priest Yumu. Not only that, but the divine Phoenix Maiden is the only being in the entire kingdom of the 9 states to have successfully integrated 2 divine Daos at the same time. She's a freak among freaks. Taoist priest Yuan Mu. My God! She's not a mighty figure. She's a legend. Celestial Maiden Arowana. My God! What a piercing light. I'm going to go blind. Truth-seeking little monk. I feel like I'm seeing the light of the main character, and it's a light that only appears in the grand finale. The most coquettish younger brother 6 God said, "What is a divine-level big shot doing on our Earth?" Newbies trembling in fear. Tian Lingling covered her mouth and chuckled. What else? She's here to find her Dao partner, of course. Brother 6 Paths. No way. A woman that even gods don't have the right to F***CK already has a Dao partner? Tian Lingling replied. Of course, Su Xiaolan's Taoist companion is our Enlin. The most coquettish younger brother, Six Gods exclaimed. What the F***CK? Light particle bomb fairy. Oh my god! The golden arowana fairy exclaimed. Heavens! What a shocking thing! I'm going to have a cardiac arrest. Taoist Yuanmu. I'm kneeling to Almighty Enlin. The newbies in the group were extremely excited. In the hearts of the cultivators on Earth, Enlin had already been regarded as a big shot from Earth. Now that he also had such a powerful Tao companion, everyone was sincerely happy and proud. Taoist Huang Mu. Lingling, haven't you been with Enlin recently? Have you seen Su Xiaolan? Tian Lingling. Little Lan is at the Peace Immortal sect. You guys can come and meet Little Lan. As soon as he said that, the group immediately responded. Everyone wanted to see what the legendary woman looked like. At the Peace Immortal sect, beside the Mystic Clarity Pond, Tian Lingling, who was dressed in a pink dress, approached an intricately constructed pavilion with a few dozen or so members of the Cultivator group who had managed to spare some time to come out from the group chat. There stood a woman in a jade dress with a vibrant smile on her face. She was holding some strange items in her slender hands as she patiently introduced them to the sect leader of the Peace Immortal sect, An Mingchuan. The woman was very, very beautiful. Her skin was even more flawless than white jade, her eyes were bright and her teeth were pearly. Her every movement and smile gave onlookers a sense of holiness and otherworldly beauty. They were considered to have extremely high standards in the cultivation world, but the moment they saw that woman, they were still shocked. Furthermore, her beauty wasn't invasive at all. Instead, it gave onlookers a very warm and comfortable feeling. Just like the golden arowana fairy, who was also a female cultivator, she couldn't bring herself to be jealous. Instead, she could only exclaim in admiration and admiration. Meanwhile, a handsome man in a white robe sat off to the side as the woman in the jade dress demonstrated to An Mingchuan. He rested his chin in one hand and nibbled on a spirit fruit in the other. She's our divine phoenix maiden. Tian Lingling pointed at the extremely beautiful woman in the jade dress with a smile. Everyone nodded in agreement. With this kind of fairy-like appearance, even without an introduction, they could guess it. The light particle bomb fairy sighed with emotion as she stroked her wavy, golden hair with a dejected expression. Sigh. I wanted to see if I could woo Senior Enlin in the past, but now, I can't even muster up the slightest interest. The savior chuckled. That's not necessarily true. Do you think there's still hope for me? The light particle bomb fairy's eyes lit up. Could it be that in everyone's eyes, her beauty was comparable to Su Xiaolan's? The savior nodded. Perhaps Enlin has a unique taste and likes ugly women? Light particle bomb fairy. Boom! An explosion erupted alongside the fatso's blood-curdling cries. Su Xiaolan, Enlin, and An Mingchuan all turned toward a certain direction at the same time. Tian Lingling led a group of cultivators over with a dainty smile. Fake Taoist priest, Big Sister Xiaolan, I've brought some cultivators from the group here to see you. Enlin and Su Xiaolan both smiled and greeted their guests with enthusiasm. Su Xiaolan even instructed little Huang to dance for everyone. All of the cultivators were extremely flattered. This was the first time they had experienced a real phoenix dance for them. Even though the phoenix's dance was extremely jerky and could not be described as beautiful, instead, it was somewhat ugly as it twisted its miniature body, but the cultivator's sense of accomplishment and excitement was simply bursting. How many times could a mythological beast dance for them in their lives? If this were the past, they wouldn't even dare to think about it. Little Huang was also in despair. It was a high and mighty phoenix, yet it was going to dance for a bunch of Tao body, spirit nurturing, and soul formation stage cultivators? This was an absolute disgrace. It was a disgrace to the phoenixes. Enlin and Su Xiaolan found this to be quite amusing, and they took a photo of little Huang with a photographic crystal, recording all of little Huang's clumsy and adorable dance movements. Not long after, the cultivators who had come to visit and feast their eyes on him left. They still had other missions to attend to. Even though all of the spatial rifts on Earth had already shrunk, they still had to protect the safety and stability of the various regions. Enlin and Su Xiaolan, on the other hand, had quite a bit of free time. Earth was such a small place anyway, so if anything were to happen, they could just teleport to it. Xiaolan, when can you hold your wedding and take Enlin as your wife? My life would be complete. And Mingchuan sighed with emotion. Su Xiaolan snuck a glance at Enlin, and a faint smile appeared on her face. I want to, but the problem is that Enlin doesn't want to. Look at him, he's always acting like he's not even a heavenly human yet. Enlin was quite heartbroken. Xiaolan, when did you start siding with Dad? Don't you think I feel uncomfortable? I've been a virgin for more than 100 years. And Mingchuan's eyes lit up. How about this? You can delay the wedding because of the heavenly human tribe, but you can consummate your marriage first. Enlin, Su Xiaolan. Chapter 1815. Enlin and Su Xiaolan both blushed involuntarily. Even though they were the most powerful beings on the Tai Chu continent who had slain heavenly beings and heavenly gods, they were even more embarrassed than the average mortal when faced with this question. That isn't a good idea. Su Xiaolan lowered her head as a blush appeared on her flawless features. Enlin looked at the bashful woman in a jade dress. Her extremely beautiful cheeks were flushed red, and he couldn't help but feel a little tempted. I think it's possible, and Mingchuan was the most excited of them all. I'll go pick an auspicious day. Fate was a strange thing. Su Xiaolan and Mingchuan were originally on the same side, but now Enlin and Mingchuan were on the same side. This was probably the kind of tacit understanding that a father and son should have. Enlin looked at Su Xiaolan's perfect figure and snowy white skin, and he hesitated momentarily. How about we pick an auspicious day? Genius! And Mingchuan was ecstatic. He was going to be a grandfather. Su Xiaolan, if you really want it, I can give my body to you. She whispered into Enlin's ear. If you really want it, I can give my body to you. Enlin's body trembled as he became a little excited. You've already avenged me and untied the final knot in my heart. My body and mind are all yours now, there's nothing I can't give you. Su Xiaolan's voice was very pleasant to the ears. Enlin could sense that both of their body temperatures were rising. But I want to get married first before we do that kind of thing. If you really can't take it anymore, we can hold a wedding on your home planet, which is Earth. That way, it'll be very quick. Su Xiaolan's eyes shimmered as her lips parted and closed. Perhaps it was because she was talking about something like this that her breathing had accelerated. Enlin was silent for a moment before he sighed. He stroked the woman's hair and looked at her beautiful face. He couldn't help but peck her soft lips and said with a smile, "Forget it, I don't want to have my marriage ruined. Let's just wipe out the Celestial clan first." Su Xiaolan smiled sweetly. That's what you said. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Enlin held Su Xiaolan's soft and slender hand and said with a smile, there's no hurry. Let's go shopping first. I'll show you around Earth. Sure, I just wanted to buy some nice clothes. Su Xiaolan nodded with a smile. Just like that, the two of them started moving towards the nearby city. Oi! You two, are we just going to forget about what we just agreed on? And Mingchuan asked in a loud voice as he looked at the departing duo. Only then did he realize that his grandson had flown away. Chengdu, the largest city in the southwest. On the busiest street, there was a massive building by the name of Heavenly Spiral Street. The entire street was in the shape of a spiral, and the shops on both sides of the street were also arranged in a spiral fashion, creating a massive tower that was over 1 kilometer tall. Due to the fact that the building was very wide, the incline wasn't actually very steep. There was even a spiral staircase on the side, and if one was tired, they could stand on the staircase and slowly make their way up. Lin wore a set of white casual attire and held Su Xiaolan's soft and smooth hand as they strolled along the heavenly spiral street, casually inspecting all of the new shop. Su Xiaolan's attire was very simple. She wore a pair of light blue jeans that accentuated the beautiful curves of her legs. She wore a pristine white shirt with a very short hem that revealed her slender waist, and her snowy white skin glowed with the light of the sun. She was a beautiful young woman at this moment. Su Xiaolan was already restraining her charm, but she still became the center of attention as she walked down the street. 200% of the passers-by turned their heads to look at her, which meant that they had to turn their heads twice when they were passing by. Sigh. I've already tried very hard to restrain my aura, so why do these people still like to look at me so much? Su Xiaolan licked an ice cream cone with furrowed brows. Even the owner of the ice cream cone almost gave me a free cone, and Lin nodded in agreement. Most importantly, the owner is a woman. Su Xiaolan sighed with emotion. My F***king charm has nowhere to be found. This was most likely the problem of a beautiful woman. Along the way, the two of them bought clothes the most. Not taking into account other things, Earth had developed for over 100 years, and the fashion sense of clothes had improved to a whole new level. All kinds of ingenious, beautiful, and creative clothes won Su Xiaolan's favor. The new and popular clothes all had three main characteristics. The first was that they were more floaty when moving, the second was more silky, and the third was more colorful. For example, Su Xiaolan's white shirt and jeans was a retro style. It had to be said that her appearance made the passers-by suddenly realize that retro style could be worn so beautifully. Imperceptibly, the sales of the shirts and jeans increased by a large margin. And Lin didn't have the heart to tell them that this kind of thing actually depended on one's appearance. If one had a good face and a good figure, then it didn't matter if it was retro or modern. And Lin, what do you think of this dress? It's beautiful. It's confirmed that it's a fairy. And Lin, what about this dress? It's beautiful. It's confirmed that it's a goddess. Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed. So I'm a fairy and a goddess? What kind of person am I? And Lin smiled. Whether you're a fairy or a goddess, you're still mine. Su Xiaolan's face blushed. You're so annoying, the shop assistant burped before walking forward with a smile. Both of your dresses look very good, beautiful lady. Why don't you buy them both? Su Xiaolan looked at the designs and prices of the two items of clothing before replying. The black one is too expensive, I'll take the blue one. And Lin's lips twitched upon seeing this. Su Xiaolan looked at the price when she bought clothes. With her wealth, she could easily buy the entire corkscrew Heavenly Street if she wanted to, but she was complaining about the price of a dress? What was she after? Sometimes a girl's thoughts were really strange. And Lin couldn't figure out what was going on, so the only thing he could do was to accompany Su Xiaolan in her shopping spree. Su Xiaolan changed into a set of clothes of different styles, and it was actually quite pleasing to the eye as she switched to different styles of beauty. At Lin's request, she even tried on a cute maid outfit, a cute cat-eared outfit, a youthful and sexy sailor outfit, and Lin was very satisfied, and he suddenly wanted to get married again. After buying a few clothes, they tossed them into their storage rings before continuing to shop hand in hand. At this moment, a handsome man in a suit suddenly made his way over to Su Xiaolan with a scorching light in his eyes. Hello, I'm a talent scout from the Starlight Corporation, Chun Fei Bai. Chapter 1816. Starlight Corporation Limited? Su Xiaolan blinked with a confused expression before turning to Lin with a questioning gaze. Lin explained patiently, Starlight Corporation Limited is one of the 3 largest entertainment companies in China, and they're involved in film and television, games, animations, music. Oh. Su Xiaolan nodded with a look of sudden realization. Chen Feibai's heart jolted at the sight of the two of them remaining expressionless. He then looked at Su Xiaolan's demeanor, and his expression became even more solemn. Miss, do you want to become a celebrity? I have a good eye for talent, and if you join our Starlight Corporation Limited, I'm willing to sign a contract to guarantee that you'll become a first-rate celebrity within 5 years. A smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Can I really become a first-rate celebrity? I don't have any special skills, and I don't know how to sing or dance. How am I going to become a celebrity? Chen Feibai was a little dazzled by Su Xiaolan's stunning beauty, and he only managed to calm himself down with great difficulty. It's fine if you don't know how to do anything. All you have to do is stand in front of the camera, smile, and announce your debut, and you'll become a first-rate celebrity the next day. Trust me. Su Xiaolan. Anlin was very angry. How can you do that? What are all of the celebrities who wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day going to think? Chen Feibai shot a glance at Anlin. Stop messing around. This is the reality of the world. Even though hard work can lead to success, it's much easier to succeed with good looks. Anlin. Chen Feibai took a closer look at Anlin. I don't know if you have such a beautiful girlfriend because you saved the world in your past life, but if you really love your girlfriend, you should give her a shot at becoming a celebrity. But if you really love your girlfriend, you should let her try to be a star. With such good looks, it would be a pity not to be a star. Su Xiaolan latched onto Anlin's arm with a smile on her face. I don't know if he saved the world in his past life, but he did save the world in this life not long ago. What? Chen Feibai was perplexed. No wonder a celestial maiden in a green dress fell from the sky and wanted to marry me after I saved the world. Anlin tapped Su Xiaolan's nose with his finger. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she rested her head on Anlin's shoulder. I'm the gift that this world has given to you, and I hope you can come and pick me up. I'm the most sentient being. Xiaolan, Xiaolan. The two of them were in the mood, flirting at the side. Chen Feibai was completely dumbstruck. What are they talking about? Why can't I understand a single word? Did you guys forget that I'm a talent scout? I'm a talent scout for one of the top 3 entertainment companies in the country. I can help you become a celebrity. Can we talk business? Chen Feibai wasn't interested in all the code words about saving the earth. He wanted to change the style of the story. Alright. Tell me, what level of celebrity can I become if I go in? Anlin was also quite interested, and a smile appeared on his face. Chen Feibai repressed the impatience in his heart and nodded at Anlin's appearance. You have a good foundation, and you can just barely qualify as a third male in a teen movie. Even if you don't have any acting skills, you should be able to become a C-list celebrity after a few years or a decade. If your girlfriend can help you, you should have a chance at becoming a B-list celebrity. Anlin. Ha ha ha. Su Xiaolan trembled with laughter. Anlin's expression darkened. He felt like he had been insulted. He was so handsome, and even in the 4-9 immortal sect, all of the arrogant prodigies felt that he was the most handsome male sword immortal in the entire sect. Why was it that in Chen Feibai's eyes, he was just a gigolo who relied on women to become a second-tier celebrity? How about it? Do you want to give it a try? Chen Feibai straightened his back with a proud expression. In this era of entertainment, the status of celebrities was unprecedentedly high. For many people, a B-list celebrity was already an unattainable existence. Once it was achieved, it would be a meteoric rise. He was confident that almost no one would be able to resist this temptation. However, what was surprising to him was that Anlin's expression didn't change much, as if he didn't care about this at all. In fact, he seemed to be a little displeased that he had been looked down upon. What he didn't know was that what he thought was a meteoric rise was actually nothing more than a part of life in Anlin's eyes, and there was nothing special about it. Anlin had already ascended to the heavens a long time ago, and he stood at the very pinnacle of the sky, looking down upon all things in this world. Su Xiaolan's eyes darted around before she asked, "Then how long will it take for me to become a superstar like Dongfang Shui?" "What?" Chen Feibai was given a massive fright. "Are you insane? Dongfang Shui is an international superstar with unparalleled influence and dominance. You want to be like her? Su Xiaolan was a little disappointed. Can't I? Unlin was very displeased. This idiot is blind. My Xiaolan is so awesome, how can she be inferior to Dongfang Shui? Let's leave him and go. Unlin led Su Xiaolan away as he spoke, leaving Chen Feibai standing rooted to the spot. His mind was completely blank, and he was even starting to question his life. Who am I? What am I doing? Why did they leave just like that? Chen Feibai was completely dumbstruck. They're not going to become stars just because they can't reach Dongfang Shui's level? Do they really think they're gods? What the hell was going on? And Lin continued to act as Su Xiaolan's lackey, buying, looking, and praising. He was putting the 9 words mantra of accompanying a girl on a shopping trip to the fullest. Chen Feibai took a deep breath as the two of them disappeared from his field of vision, and he continued to follow them. He felt like he couldn't give up on such a perfect seedling. Chen Feibai knew that Dongfang Shui cared a lot about the opinion of the man beside her. Seeing as that was the case, he felt it was his responsibility to remind her to think more about herself. So what if she was a powerful cultivator? Dongfang Shui was still an extremely powerful cultivator, but she was still a singer. No matter how powerful that woman's background was, it couldn't compare to Dongfang Shui's. So what if she was a star? Please wait a moment. Chen Feibai quickly caught up to the two of them, and he had already thought of a series of things to say to them, including future development prospects, various paths of stars, as well as the conditions that the company had promised to give them. The top-tier talent scouts from the top 3 entertainment companies were no joke. His Starlight Corporation was determined to have this invincible beauty. Chapter 1817. Chen Feibai quickly made his way over to them before tidying up his hair and clearing his throat. He quickly organized his thoughts and prepared what he was going to say next. However, what was surprising to him was that even though the two of them had stopped in their tracks, they didn't turn around to look at him. Instead, they turned toward the higher-ups of the corkscrew Heavenly Street. Chen Feibai was just about to say something. Boom! A deafening explosion suddenly erupted in the air. Everyone on the street was given a massive fright. Immediately afterward, flames erupted in the air. Everyone finally came to their senses and screamed as they fled the scene. Run! There's an explosion. We have to hide. Stop hiding and get down there. This is a terrorist attack, and the corkscrew Heavenly Street is going to collapse. What terrorist attack? Which terrorist would dare to attack the corkscrew Heavenly Street? This is definitely a sneak attack from the Heavenly Human Tribe. We have to run. We can't stay in Chengdu anymore. The more people spoke, the more panicked they became, and all of them rushed toward the ground with no regard for their lives. The street suddenly became chaotic and raucous. Chen Feibai looked up at the smoke and flames rising from the higher-ups of the buildings several hundred meters above him, and he immediately came to his senses as he tried to escape. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and run. He discovered that the two people before him were still standing on the spot, and he immediately urged them to run away. The man turned to him with a friendly smile. You go first, uncle. We'll go up and see what's going on up there. Chen Feibai's eyes widened. Have you gone insane? His voice had only just fallen when a pair of pure white flame wings suddenly spread open on the woman's back. In that instant, it was as if an angel had spread open her wings, from which flaming feathers fell, creating an extremely breathtaking spectacle. The woman rose into the air and flew into the sky. A light breeze blew past, and the man in casual clothes stepped through the air, covering several dozen meters with each step, as if he were an immortal ascending to the heavens. Chen Feibai's mouth gaped open upon seeing this. He suddenly understood why they weren't interested in becoming celebrities. So they really were immortals, at the top of the corkscrew Heavenly Street. This was the most renowned museum in the southwest region. At this moment, flames and smoke were billowing through the air. The sound of sirens could be heard. Enemy attack, enemy attack. Intense energy fluctuations, highest level of danger. The museum activated the strongest emergency mechanism. 5 armed robots armed with high-energy taser guns were dispatched at the same time, rushing toward the source of the energy fluctuation. Ryup! A bolt of white lightning suddenly tore through the thick smoke and tore a robot in half from the middle. A blond young man in a black jacket, shrouded in white lightning, sneered as he rushed past the robot and smacked the robot's head away. "You want to stop me, Charles, with these toys?" The golden-haired young man revealed an arrogant expression, and blood-colored patterns extended from his body. The white lightning around his body became increasingly intense, and with a wave of his hand, 4 bolts of lightning shot out in 4 different directions at the same time, accurately landing on the heads of the robots, exploding them. He held a skull with a black hole in the center in his hand, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Who would have thought that the last fallen god crystal skull would be in the museum of Rong City? Every fallen god crystal skull hides the secrets of life. I believe it won't be long before my name, Lightning Demon, resounds throughout the entire genetic alliance. Charles strolled through the flames, and the ground was stained with blood and charred corpses. He looked at the corpses on the ground with a faint smile on his face. The alarm has already sounded, and the Rong City guards will arrive in about a minute. It'll take at least 10 minutes for the Hua Nation cultivators to react, but by then, I'll have already escaped with my lightning escape technique. Hee, the title of Lightning Demon is not just for show. No one in this world can keep up with my speed, and no one can convict me. The man made his way out of the museum. Wah! A child was bawling in a corner. The woman hurriedly clamped a hand over her child's mouth and scolded her not to cry. However, the child's sobs still managed to escape. Oh? There are still survivors? Charles's footsteps faltered as he looked at the mother and daughter in the corner with an intrigued expression. A look of despair suddenly appeared on the woman's face, and she lowered her head as her body trembled. "Please, don't kill us. I won't tell anyone, please. Your daughter is so adorable." A warm smile appeared on Charles's face. A glimmer of hope welled up in the woman's heart. It would be a pity if such an adorable daughter wasn't roasted with electricity. A scorching light appeared in Charles's eyes as the corners of his lips curled up. "No!" A look of despair appeared on the woman's face. At this moment, a bolt of white lightning imbued with scorching energy tore through the air before crashing down toward the mother and daughter in the corner. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted. A woman had already appeared before the mother and daughter, and with a simple wave of her hand, the bolt of lightning was instantly dispersed. "Who's there?" Charles's expression shifted. He didn't even notice how the other party had gotten here. Run. He was a decisive person. In the face of an unknown opponent, he would flee without any hesitation. Charles immediately unleashed his most powerful escape technique. His entire body was enveloped in white lightning, which transformed into high-energy fuel that propelled him forward. In this state, he could cover a distance of over 1 kilometer per second. Even a soul formation stage cultivator would find it difficult to catch up to him. That's right, as long as he ran, he would be a free prodigal son. PFFF. Just as he made his way out of the museum then, a fair hand came toward him. Charles wanted to evade, but he found that there was nowhere to evade. It was as if the hand before him was a part of heaven and earth, and no matter where he hid, he would always be within heaven and earth. A look of horror appeared on his face. In the next instant, his neck had already been gripped tightly by the hand. His free prodigal son state had been broken less than a second after unleashing his mystic technique. That crystal skull in your hand looks quite interesting. An intrigued expression appeared on the handsome young man's face. He was none other than Lin. "If you like it, I can give it to you as long as you let me go, Senior." Charles's body trembled at the sight of this man in casual attire, and he immediately gave in. He wasn't an idiot. He knew that Unlin's combat prowess was far superior to his in order to be able to restrain him so easily. This was something that soul formation stage cultivators were unable to do. Perhaps this man was a legendary return to void stage mighty figure. I think you're being too optimistic. You've killed the citizens of the Hua Nation, and you want to leave here alive? Unlin's hand took on an inky black color as the power of extreme evil spread through his body before latching onto Charles's neck. Suffer the most vicious punishment. Perfected heavenly ghost palm. Boom! Arg! Charles's blood-curdling cries reverberated throughout heaven and earth. This lightning demon, who was supposed to be renowned throughout the Genetic Alliance, was tortured to death by extreme pain on the corkscrew heavenly street. Chapter 1818. Charles was reduced to a puddle of blood, and the crystal skeleton with the black hole in its skull fell to the ground. Su Xiaolan let out a light breath, and the flames in the museum were all snuffed out. She possessed the vermilion bird divine Tao, which allowed her to control all flames, so putting out these flames was easier than breathing. Then, with a wave of her hand, she moved all the injured people in the museum outside and cast a healing spell technique on them. Even if they were already dead, as long as their brains were not dead, she would be able to bring them back to life unscathed. Thank you, Immortal. Thank you for saving our lives. The woman with her daughter in her arms had tears in her eyes as she thanked Su Xiaolan over and over again. She had never eaten pork before, but she had seen pigs run before, so she knew that this outrageously beautiful woman in her white shirt and jeans was a cultivator, and a very powerful one at that. Don't mention it, I was only doing what I was supposed to do, Su Xiaolan said with a warm smile. She made her way toward Enlin as she spoke, while also appraising the crystal skeleton with curiosity in her eyes. What do you think of this skeleton? Did you discover anything? Let's talk somewhere else. Enlin scanned his surroundings to discover that a large number of guards were approaching. Su Xiaolan nodded, and the two of them instantly disappeared on the spot. Within a secluded forest, Enlin and Su Xiaolan gathered together to carefully investigate the secrets of the fallen god crystal skeleton. There is indeed a cultivation method related to life hidden within this skeleton, and it's an extremely high-level cultivation method that can allow one to progress straight to the Tao integration stage. Su Xiaolan spoke with a solemn expression. The highest cultivation method on Earth is only at the return to void stage, so how could there be such a high-level cultivation method? This definitely has nothing to do with the Celestial Court. Enlin was also quite perplexed. He was the war god of the Celestial Court, and he had once browsed through all of the Celestial Court's affairs regarding Earth, but there was no mention of this cultivation method. It was far too strange for such a high-level cultivation method to appear on Earth. Wait, I think I've discovered something. Suddenly, Enlin's mind stirred. His powerful soul force penetrated into the skeleton and analyzed the cultivation technique on it. He found a loophole in the cultivation technique. This life cultivation method will make the cultivator unwittingly develop a disdain for life. In fact, they might even view the human race as an enemy. Eventually, a seed will be planted in the cultivator's heart. When the seed explodes, perhaps these powerful beings will slaughter the human race in a frenzy. Enlin's expression darkened the more he explored. Su Xiaolan also realized the seriousness of the problem. This kind of thing is very secretive. With our strength, if we don't study it carefully, we won't even know it exists. Other cultivators are more likely to fall for it. If the crystal skull is like this, then I can't rule out the possibility that there are other cultivation techniques as well. They are like landmines, waiting for the critical moment to explode. Enlin's expression had already darkened. Is the heavenly human tribe trying to launch an attack from within? If we don't guard against our own cultivators and the seeds suddenly erupt, it will definitely cause great casualties to the human race. The individual strength of cultivators was very strong, and they were also extremely agile. A soul formation stage powerful being could bring disaster to an entire city. A return to void stage mighty figure could even unleash a large-scale Dao spell to destroy a small nation. Lin and Su Xiaolan held a brief discussion, and they decided to forcefully summon all of the cultivators on Earth in order to verify whether they had cultivated in a cultivation method of unknown origin. They couldn't allow them to voluntarily admit to this. Sometimes, even if cultivators knew that cultivating in a cultivation method was harmful to them, they would still be tempted to continue cultivating in it if the cultivation method was extremely effective and could allow them to progress all the way to the Dao integration stage. Thus, the cultivation world on Earth was once again plunged into turmoil. A summoning order was issued throughout the entire cultivation world. The Hua Nation cultivation world, the Holy Palace of the European Union, the Genetic Alliance of the American Alliance, as well as all other cultivation forces of all sizes, were forcefully summoned without exception. Anyone who didn't want to be summoned was forcibly persuaded before being taken to the Peace Immortal sect for investigation. After the investigation, they really did discover several dozen cultivators who had cultivated in strange cultivation method. All of them were indifferent toward life, and they had even developed a sense of disgust toward the human race. All of this made Lin even more determined to thoroughly investigate all of the cultivators here. Death Valley, United States. Within a cuboid building that was shimmering with rainbow light. **stars. The immortal ambassadors of the Celestial Court are so overbearing. They even dare to touch the Genetic Alliance. A pristine white infant who was only around the size of a 1-year-old child slammed a miniature office table with undisguisable rage on his face. His name was Yuaning, and he was a life form with the most perfect genes in the Genetic Alliance. Regardless of whether it was his cultivation base, power, or status, he was on par with the most powerful being in the East, Yumu. On the table, there were 2 crystal skulls that were translucent. They were standing quietly on top of the table, and there was a faint red light in their empty, pitch-black eye sockets. A few powerful beings with golden hair and blue eyes stood off to the side with respectful expressions on their faces. A gorgeous woman stepped forward. "Please calm down, Master Yuaning. How about we send some of our subordinates who haven't cultivated in any spirit mantras over there to delay the Celestial Court's investigation?" A brawny man with sideburns chuckled. "That's right. Once we master the concealment technique, the immortal ambassadors won't be able to detect us no matter how powerful they are. All right, let them wait with me. Very soon, these immortal envoys will feel what true despair is." Nascent Yuan's eyes were cold, and there was a hint of cruelty in his clear blue eyes. Rip. The formation outside the building was suddenly torn apart. 3 days after the Genetic Alliance issued their summons, no one from their headquarters has come to the Peace Immortal sect. Seeing as you won't come, we'll have to pay you a visit, woof. A mighty and powerful voice erupted throughout the entire heaven and earth. "How dare you? Who dares to trespass on our Genetic Alliance?" Yuaning let loose an enraged roar as his body flew out of the building as a streak of white light, followed by a few powerful subordinates. Yuan Ying's entire body faltered for an instant upon seeing who it was. The intruder wasn't from the Peace Immortal sect, nor was it the mysterious and powerful immortal ambassadors of the Celestial Court. Instead, it was an extremely unfamiliar dog. That's right, it was a huge dog with fluffy white fur. It stuck out its long tongue, and its large black eyes roamed over the bodies of the sexy women behind Yuan Ying in a lecherous manner. "The Celestial Court is handling a case, so I advise you to surrender, woof. Otherwise, Lord Dog will tear down your entire Genetic Alliance's headquarters." The huge white dog cracked a smile. Yuan Ying felt an indescribable sense of humiliation welling up in his heart at the sight of the huge white dog threatening them. "So even a dog can threaten to tear down our Genetic Alliance now? Do you really think our genetic alliance is so easily bullied? If you want to fight, then let's fight. Everyone, let's have dog meat tonight. Chapter 1819. There were over 100 powerful beings gathered outside the genetic alliance. Some of them were dark green in color with extremely muscular bodies. Some of them were crimson in color with flames burning all over their bodies. Some of them were shrouded in wind and flew in the air. Not only that, but some of them were covered in scales, some had sinister ghostly hands, and some had lizard tails. They were a hodgepodge of different abilities. This was the unique characteristic of the genetic alliance. They all used genetic modification to trigger the awakening of the biological hierarchy, thereby obtaining extraordinary power. Eat dog meat! Eat dog meat! All the genetic alliance powerful beings roared in unison. They were all extremely arrogant people who were respected by the people no matter where they went. Never would they have thought that a dog would threaten to tear down their headquarters. This was a blatant insult to their dignity. At this moment, a few elders with powerful auras had already pounced toward Dubai. Ha ha! You little puppy, don't think that you're big and mighty just because you're a dozen meters tall. Look at how fierce your grandpa is. A burly man with dark green eyes laughed sinisterly, and his muscles quickly swelled. Then, fur grew on his body, and he quickly transformed into a fierce wolf that was over 100 meters long. Howl! See this? You're just a little puppy in my eyes. Watch me tear you apart. The wolf roared and leaped forward. Its sharp claws were like the sharpest blades, reflecting a cold light as it pounced toward Dubai on the ground. Dubai swung his claws, and an invisible wind slammed into the wolf's body, crushing its muscles and bones. It let out a howl of anguish as it was sent flying for over 1,000 meters. What the hell? Who wants to compete with you, wolf? Black Mist Wolf King. This dog is not to be underestimated. Let's join forces to fight it. Dark Night Poison Wind. Blazing Sun Flame. Deadly Lightning Arc. Several genetic alliance elders attacked at the same time. Dubai also raised his claws and quickly swung them a few times in the air. Bam bam bam! All of the spell techniques were shattered by its paws, and even the spellcasters were sent flying with blood gushing out of their mouths. They fell to the ground, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. At this time, the rest of the genetic alliance's experts had also arrived. Dubai opened his mouth, and a white energy hurricane suddenly exploded with him as the center. It was as if the air had exploded, and in an instant, the ground within a radius of a few thousand meters was shattered. All the experts of the genetic alliance were heavily injured and fell to the ground. Even the cube-shaped building that was glowing with colorful light not far away cracked a little from the impact. This dog is a return to Void stage mighty figure? An expression of shock appeared on Yuan Ying's face. How could such a perverted Dubai dog be able to reach the Return to Void stage? Based on what? All Return to Void stage mighty figures on Earth were prodigies with countless advantages. The most powerful being of the East, Yumu, was the first cultivator on Earth to transcend a tribulation to reach the Return to Void stage. The Dragon King of the Pacific Ocean was an ancient dragon species that had lived for tens of thousands of years. The dragons of Kunlun Mountain were ancient dragons bred by the dragon veins of the earth. As for it, it had continuously modified and awakened its genes, achieving the most perfect gene body. What about this dog? It was so perverted and ordinary, so how was it able to reach the Return to Void stage? Let me have a taste of you. The nascent soul abruptly stomped its feet into the ground, and its body transformed into a streak of white light that hurtled toward Dubai at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, it closed its translucent fingers, and extremely sharp blades of energy materialized around its fingers, which tore through space and stabbed toward Dubai's head. Peak Gene Technique, Holy Light Saber. Dog Claw Technique, Woof. Silver winds revolved around Dubai's sharp claws as he lashed them toward Yuan Ying's fingers. The two of them clashed, and a piercing blue light erupted as an extremely sharp screeching sound erupted. Terrifying energy intertwined with one another, sweeping up gale-force winds for several dozen kilometers in all directions. Gotcha, ah! Yuan Ying's blood-curdling wail erupted. He discovered that Dabai's claws were even harder and sharper than spirit tools, and they were able to shatter his holy light saber. Blood began to gush from his fingers, and his body was struck by the dog's claws, leaving a massive gash on his body as he plummeted to the ground like a cannonball. Boom! Heaven and earth tremored violently. Yuaning smashed a massive crater into the ground, and blood flowed all over his body. I refuse to accept this. Yuaning leaped up from the crater, and a ball of dark red energy enshrouded his entire body. All living beings that came into contact with this ball of energy would have their genes shattered and die. Peak gene technique, divine technique collapse. A sinister smile appeared on Dabai's face as he looked at Yuaning, who was pouncing toward him again. If you refuse to accept this, I'll beat you until you do. Woof. In the face of the dark red ball of energy released by Yuaning, Dabai wasn't fearful in the slightest. He lashed out with his claws again. Dog claw technique, woof. The dog's claws tore through Yuan Ying's divine technique collapse like a hot knife through butter before slamming heavily into Yuan Ying's delicate body. Bam! PFFF! Yuan Ying threw up a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying again. I refuse to accept this. Gene destruction form. Yuan Ying suddenly transformed from several dozen centimeters tall to over a dozen meters tall, and his strength and speed were both enhanced explosively as he pounced toward Dabai again. Dabai's dog paw descended. Bam! PFFF! The giant Ying spat out a mouthful of blood as his body rapidly shrank like a deflated balloon. Dabai pummeled Yuan Ying like a little kid, beating him to the point where he didn't even have a chance to retaliate. Very soon, the nascent source was lying weakly on the ground, never to rise again. His face was full of self-doubt. I cough. Yuan Ying is the most perfect gene body. How could he be defeated by a dog? The other genetic alliance experts also looked sad and despairing. Yuan Ying wasn't the only one who was defeated by a dog. The entire American alliance had been trampled under the feet of a dog. Who the hell are you? Yuan Ying said with difficulty. Me? I'm Dabai, a cute and innocent dog, Dabai replied with a kind smile. Yuan Ying felt like he had been f***ed by a dog. Can't you brag about yourself a little more? Why do you always give me the feeling that I've been abused by an ordinary dog? You should just accept the investigation. Why do you have to take things too hard and fight with Lord Dog? Woof. Dabai was still as calm and collected as ever. Yuan Ying's face darkened. If he accepted the investigation, he would be exposed. If he resisted, he would have a chance to cover up the truth and secretly escape. Unfortunately, the dog sent by the other party was so strong that it directly destroyed the Genetic Alliance's headquarters, not giving him a chance to escape. Dabai swaggered across the battlefield and bound all the Genetic Alliance experts with wind chains. Then, he made a phone call. Before long, 2 young men came from the clouds. Yuan Ying finally saw the mastermind behind this battle. Chapter 1820. One of them was dressed in casual sportswear. His skin was fair, and he looked like an inexperienced university student. The other was dressed in a white shirt and jeans, and her slender waist was exposed. Her every movement was that of a youthful and energetic woman. They appeared in the sky at the same time, and they arrived before Yuan Ying with a single step. Big brother, and I've tied them up, and not a single one of them escaped. Woof. Dabai ran over and wagged his tail in an adorable manner as he stuck out his tongue. Well done. Anlin patted Dabai's head with a smile. Yuan Ying fell into despair upon seeing this. So he really had lost to a dog. Even the immortal ambassadors of the Celestial Court can't be so overbearing. They clearly didn't investigate anything, but they immediately injured all of our genetic alliance members," Yuaning said in a low voice. And Lin unleashed his unfathomably powerful divine sense, and he instantly scanned the area within a radius of 50 kilometers. He waved a hand through the air, and the colorful building split down the middle. 2 crystal skulls with black holes on their heads and a stone tablet engraved with a mysterious code flew out from within. "What now?" Lin asked. "Yuaning, tell me what you know. The more you speak, the less punishment you'll face." Lin had already sensed that over half of the people before him had cultivated that mysterious cultivation method. There was no way he wouldn't believe that such a large group of people had all turned evil. "Tui, what's so great about the Celestial Court? What right does it have to interfere with our affairs? I don't kill or commit arson, so why do you care what cultivation method we cultivate?" A voluptuous blonde woman retorted with rage. Lin gripped the air toward the woman, and she let loose a wail of anguish as an invisible object emerged from her head before disappearing into his hand. "I'm sorry, but you really do have a record of murder and arson," Lin spoke in an indifferent voice. The blonde woman's expression was completely blank, and saliva was dripping from the corner of her mouth. She couldn't even speak. In her memories, Nascent Source is in charge of distributing cultivation techniques, while you guys receive cultivation techniques based on merit points. After reading the woman's memories, Lin crushed the invisible object before turning to everyone again. "Can you tell me what you want to say next? I can search your soul by force, but you might become a retard." When the rest of the people saw the woman's miserable state, they didn't dare to hide anything and told the truth. Lin was not afraid that they would lie to him. His soul was so strong that the fluctuations of a person's soul when they were lying and when they were not lying were different. He could easily sense it. After killing the person who lied, the rest of the people were even more honest than Dabai. Yuaning knew that he couldn't escape, so he said everything in order to survive. Soon, Lin obtained a lot of information and secret. He learned that a few heavenly human tribe generals had snuck into this world to spread the news, and they claimed that this was the paramount decree of the heavenly gods. As long as they cooperated in spreading the news, the heavenly gods would bestow supreme glory and eternal life upon Yuan-ing and the others. Yuan-ing and the others cultivated the mystic techniques left behind by the crystal skulls, and their cultivation bases progressed by leaps and bounds. This made them even more certain that the heavenly gods would bestow upon them unimaginable power upon their descent. After learning about the situation, Lin ordered Dabai to transport all of these people to the Peace Immortal sect for further interrogation. Lin and Su Xiaolan followed the clues provided by the Genetic Alliance members to conduct a search, and sure enough, they found the heavenly human tribe generals in hiding. However, all of them were stubborn fools, and they immediately self-detonated upon seeing Lin. On the Yellowstone volcano, the heavenly human tribe general wanted to self-detonate and detonate the largest volcano on Earth, but Lin arrived before him and slapped him to death with a single palm. "Phew! That's the last one. What a tiring job." Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. "It's all worth it. At least there are fewer threats on Earth now. I just don't know how many more mines they've planted on Earth." Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed slightly. "I've collected a total of 8 top-rate cultivation methods, all of which are related to life. That strange world that I entered on the moon is most likely the work of the heavenly life goddess." And Lin was a little angry. He was going to teach that heavenly goddess a lesson sooner or later for messing with his Earth. A smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she looked at all of the peculiar items in her storage ring. However, the cultivation methods she created are also very good cultivation methods after fixing their flaws. In particular, their insights into the Tao of life can inspire me in many ways. That's true. I'll go back and make some improvements to it so that it can be used as a life cultivation method for the 4-9 Immortal sect. Lin thought about it for a moment and he felt like this was a blessing in disguise. Immediately afterward, the two of them conducted a thorough search of Earth, focusing on places where vital energy and spiritual aura converged, such as the North and South Poles, the Bermuda Triangle, the Death Valley, the Pyramids of Egypt, Lop Nor, the Kunlun Mountains, and so on. They killed a few heavenly human tribe powerful beings and destroyed a few strange spell formations, but unfortunately, they still couldn't learn about the heavenly life goddess's plan. The two of them had done their best, and only after eliminating all of the latent threats and confirming that Earth was truly safe did they go about their business with a peace of mind. It's Dongfang Shui's turn to hold her world tour in the East Ocean nation. We'll be able to witness the splendor of an international superstar. Su Xiaolan pouted as she pointed at the two electronic concert tickets. Lin was a little amused. Could it be that the scout's words from a few days ago had provoked her? That's a good idea. It's currently April, so we can enjoy the cherry blossoms along the Hokkaido. Lin nodded with a smile. Just like that, the couple's trip to Earth continued. At the foot of Mount Fuji in the East Ocean nation, at the night cherry snow-blowing building, Ing Luoqing knelt on a tatami as she stared at the image on the screen. This was an image that had been transmitted from the witch tribe's satellite. There was a white-robed man in the image, and he was extremely dazzling, as if he had been reborn from flames. He slew 5 heaven pioneers stage great generals in quick succession with unstoppable force. So powerful, so handsome, Lin San is like an unattainable dream for me. The woman rested her chin on her hand, her cherry lips slightly parted. Her eyes were misty, and her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. This was the 666th time she had watched Lin's battle footage. The more she watched, the more she liked him. The news released by the government made everyone think that the victory on the moon had been secured at the cost of over half of the fleet's casualties, but no one knew that the true hero was actually Lin. Ing Luoqing loved men like him. He was mysterious and powerful, yet low-key and introverted. Sigh, it was a pity that he wasn't a pervert. Otherwise, how wonderful would that night have been? Ing Luoqing heaved a faint sigh. Which leader? Which leader? At this moment, a witch hurried over with an excited expression. We've just received news that Mingchuan and his group are coming to our East Ocean nation to watch a concert, and Senior Lin is very likely to come as well. Ing Luoqing abruptly stood up with a blush on her face, and her aura fluctuated violently. Chapter 1821. Under the Moonlit Night. The summit of Mount Fuji was covered in a layer of white snow. It was as if a thin veil had been draped over it, giving it an ethereal and holy appearance. The cherry blossoms around it were in full bloom, and they were either translucent white or vibrant pink under the moonlight, creating a spectacular and enchanting sight to behold. Lin and Su Xiaolan strolled hand in hand along a mountain path. This place had yet to be fully developed, and there was still a quarantine zone, so normal people wouldn't be able to get here. They chose to stroll here as the scenery here was quite spectacular. There were cherry blossom trees on both sides of the path, making it a perfect place to admire cherry blossoms. A cool breeze blew past, and the cherry blossom trees on both sides of the path rustled in the wind. Pink flower petals fell from the branches, and the cherry blossoms fell like rain, dancing in the air under the bright moonlight. The flower petals fell on their heads, shoulders, and faces, but they didn't try to avoid them. Instead, they were basking in the tranquil beauty of this moment. Su Xiaolan couldn't help but catch the falling cherry blossoms with a smile. Cherry blossoms only bloom for a very short period of time, and they're at their most vibrant and beautiful when they fall from the tree. They're at their most beautiful, just like the epiphyllum flower. But my Xiaolan is different. She's always stunningly beautiful, and she can continue to be beautiful forever, Lin said with an honest expression. Su Xiaolan knew that Lin was just sucking up to her, but she still smiled with elation. Well said, you'll get a kiss as a reward. The two of them continued onward after a brief kiss. The small path continued forward, and before they knew it, They had arrived at a place with lanterns hanging on the walls. It was an antique building that was exquisitely constructed and simple. The pavilion had 3 levels, and the interior was glowing with a warm light. There were many white cherry blossom trees planted around the pavilion, giving it a very artistic appearance. "This is a nice place," Su Xiaolan said with an intrigued expression. Lin looked at the signboard and murmured to himself, "Night Cherry Snow-Blowing Pavilion, that's a nice name, but I don't know if they host guests here. Let's go and have a look." Su Xiaolan acted as if she had discovered a secret base, and she dragged Lin along with her. The two of them approached each other. 2 beautiful witches with murderous intent emerged from the Night Cherry Snow-Blowing house. "Stop right there. This was private property. You are not allowed to trespass," one of the witches said stiffly. Lin and Su Xiaolan's footsteps came to a halt, and an awkward look appeared on their faces. "How about this? I'll give you the money and you let us in to take a look," Lin argued. The other witch sneered and said, "Who cares about your stinky money? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Get lost. This is not a place that you mortals can touch. We are already being merciful by not forcefully detaining you." Lin and Su Xiaolan were a little disappointed. Although they were a little interested in this place, they couldn't do such a tasteless thing like breaking into a private house. Now that they were stopped, they naturally didn't want to go in. "So be it. Dongfang Shui's concert is about to begin, so let's go watch it," Lin suggested. But I only want to see cherry blossoms now." Su Xiaolan latched onto Lin's arm as she spoke in a spoiled manner. Lin stroked Su Xiaolan's long, silky hair with a doting smile. "All right, let's go see cherry blossoms then." The two of them turned to leave. At this moment, one of the witches suddenly changed her mind. "Stop right there." "What is it?" Lin asked. "This place is off-limits to tourists, but you two have suddenly appeared here. This is extremely suspicious, and on top of that, the two of you don't appear to be mortals." The witch spoke in a slow voice. "So?" Lin asked. The witch raised her chin with a cold expression. "So I'm going to detain you two and interrogate you in detail. I'll let you go after the investigation is complete." Lin, Su Xiaolan, you think you can detain me?" Lin couldn't help but burst into laughter. A disdainful smile appeared on the witch's face. "So you've shown your true colors. You really are cultivators. Do you not know what kind of place this is? No place in the entire Japanese nation can compare to our snowy night cherry house when it comes to trapping and killing enemies." The other witch had already pulled out a beautiful wooden statue of a female before chanting in a low voice, "Activate the formation, 1000 cherry slaughter formation." Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the cherry trees around the snowy night cherry house began to quickly tremble. Countless white cherry blossom petals suddenly detached from the trees before dancing in the air, creating a powerful cherry blossom formation in a radius of several hundred meters. Each and every cherry blossom petal was translucent and white under the moonlight, and their beauty was imbued with terrifying killing intent. "The cherry blossoms are quite beautiful as well," Su Xiaolan commented with an appreciative expression. The witch maintained the formation as she approached Lin and Su Xiaolan with a frosty expression. "Don't resist and submit to our investigation, or you'll be killed without mercy." At this moment, a small window on the second floor of the snowy night cherry house opened. A beautiful woman in a red kimono leaned against the window and looked at the scene in front of her with a cold expression. If they resist, don't make them bleed when you kill them. It's bad luck." She was the housekeeper of the snowy night cherry house, and ever since Luoqing had gone to Tokyo to watch the concert, she had absolute authority here. "Yes," the witch referred to as Chun replied with a respectful expression. There were more than 1 or 2 cultivators disguised as passers-by to investigate the snowy night cherry house, so they didn't mind killing a few more. "Surrender now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being cruel and merciless." The witch wielded the wooden carving of the formation core in her hand as killing intent soared from her eyes. Sigh, Xiaolan, I'm clearly a very kind-hearted person. Why am I being misunderstood as a bad person? Lin wore a distressed expression as he turned to the woman beside him. Have you seen enough? If you have, we're leaving. He couldn't be bothered with the rude remarks of a junior, so he wanted to take her to other places to admire the night cherry. Su Xiaolan shook her head as a light flashed through her eyes. Lin, when the formation was activated, I couldn't help but use my consciousness, and guess what I discovered? What did you discover? Lin asked. Su Xiaolan looked up at the snowy night cherry house. I discovered a familiar aura in the room up ahead, and it's related to your aura. Lin's body shuddered upon hearing this. Impossible. I've never been here before. You want to go in and have a look? Su Xiaolan was a little curious. Of course, Lin immediately replied in a hurry to prove his innocence. What are you two babbling about? Don't tell me I don't dare to kill you. The witch was enraged by the sight of Lin and Su Xiaolan still chatting casually, and she waved her hand through the air, sending the surrounding cherry blossoms flying toward Lin and Su Xiaolan like blades. Little girl, that's not how you should use the formation. A voice suddenly rang in his ears. Miko-sama noticed that the man was already standing in front of her. You! Her expression shifted drastically, but in the next instant, the formation core in her hand had already appeared in the man's hand. She didn't even have time to react. The formation should be used like this. Lin held the beautiful wooden sculpture in his hand and injected his vital energy into it with a smile, upon which the massive patterns on the sculpture suddenly expanded and transformed. Boundless energy fluctuations expanded to infinity. Boom! A violent tremor erupted. All of the cherry blossoms on Mount Fuji blossomed at the same time, and the entire sky was filled with cherry blossoms. Outside the night cherry snow-blowing house, the cherry blossoms surrounding Lin suddenly transformed into countless streaks of light before materializing into a semi-transparent woman in a witch's robe with a serene and graceful disposition. The primordial divine power surged forth, drawing upon the bloodline of all of the witches present, and all of them knelt to the ground as their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Thump! The sound of a cup falling onto the table erupted from the second floor of the snowy night cherry house. The butler in a kimono stared at the scenes unfolding before his eyes in astonishment. This is the descent of a god? Chapter 1822. Any formation that had been infused with the blood and sweat of its creator would be able to unleash a portion of its creator's power when it was perfectly activated. This was the case with the thousand-fold cherry slaughter formation. The thousand-fold cherry slaughter formation was the most powerful formation created by the witch tribe's ancestor. When the thousand-fold cherry slaughter formation was perfectly activated, it could even summon the ancestral gods to assist it. Do you see that? This is the correct way to use the formation. Lin spoke with a relaxed expression as he held onto the wooden sculpture. The two witches knelt onto the ground trembling uncontrollably and didn't even dare to speak. You're so bad *SS. Everything you say is correct. This was supposed to only exist in legends, but it was unfolding right before their eyes. They didn't know what to do aside from fear and awe. Xiao Yingying, keep an eye on them and don't let them yell for no reason, Lin instructed. The witch matriarch bowed gracefully and nodded in response. The two witches almost threw up mouthfuls of blood. The witch matriarch was being referred to as Xiao Yingying? The witch matriarch was humbly accepting this title? Who the hell was this man? At the same time, Su Xiaolan released a small white bird that landed beside the woman in a kimono on the second floor. Don't move or you'll get burned. Cold sweat poured down the manager's forehead, and her heart was filled with horror. Her instincts told her that if she moved, she would be instantly incinerated into a puff of smoke. She was extremely remorseful. The two people before her weren't some insignificant cultivators who were supposed to be spying on their enemies. They were two unimaginably powerful beings. Not to mention, she had spoken harshly to the two of them just now. Now that she thought about it, she really wanted to slap herself a few times. With a being like that, wouldn't they be able to come and go as they pleased? They could only hope that the two powerful beings wouldn't do anything to them. Anlin and Su Xiaolan ignored the three trapped witches and strode into the room. The interior of the room was very intricate and ancient. The entire space gave people a very comfortable and cozy feeling. There was an ink screen that outlined the mountains and rivers in the clouds, a beautiful calligraphy painting, and an incense burner that exuded a quiet and serene aura. It made people feel relaxed. There were mysterious birds and beasts on the wall. On one side of the floor, there was a tea table made of strange wood. From the tea table, through the small window, one could see the vast cherry blossom forest outside the house. Anlin and Su Xiaolan were admiring the interior decoration of the house. The owner of this house had good taste, and many of his ideas coincided with theirs. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the third floor. It was in this room that I sensed your aura. Su Xiaolan pointed at an extremely exquisite wooden door in front of her. It doesn't exist. I've never been here. Anlin patted his chest. He was not afraid of a crooked shadow. He was full of confidence. Su Xiaolan smiled and said, "Why are you assuring me? Of course I believe you. I'm just curious as to what that aura that's related to you is." The two of them carefully pushed open the door. The scene in the room was revealed to them, and both of them were dumbstruck. Their minds went blank for a brief moment. Su Xiaolan was feeling a little dizzy. "Mommy, Xiaolan, this has absolutely nothing to do with me." Anlin's voice trembled involuntarily. Within the room, there was a ghastly scene. A series of high-definition photos of Anlin were hung on the wall. Anlin's appearance when he was eating, Anlin's appearance when he was playing games, Anlin's appearance when he was silent, Anlin's appearance when he was frowning, Anlin's appearance when he was talking and laughing, Anlin's appearance when he was fighting. Everything could be seen on the wall. On the table, there was a cup with Anlin's photo on it, as well as an intricate cartoonish figurine of Anlin. The most extravagant thing was the bed on the side. There was a bolster that resembled Anlin. There was also an inflatable doll that looked similar to Anlin. Most importantly, there was a photo of the two of them hugging and intertwining on the wall next to the bed, which was decorated with pink girly designs. The photo took up almost an entire wall next to the bed. The two of them in the photo wore expressions of extreme enjoyment and comfort, as if they were a pair of mandarin ducks playing in the water, inseparable and inseparable. As for the high-definition photo, the man was none other than Anlin, the face that made Anlin's heart almost stop beating. Anlin was dumbstruck. Xiaolan, listen to me, I've never done anything like this." Su Xiaolan looked at the high-definition photo, and a pure white flame flashed through her eyes. She then nodded slightly. "The photo is a composite." Anlin looked at himself everywhere in the room, and he felt like vomiting blood. In particular, when he saw the super-large photo on the bed, he was almost scared out of his wits. At the sight of the female owner's cold yet beautiful features, he gradually came to a realization. This room was most likely Ying Luoqing's room. Anlin couldn't help but recall that night when Ying Luoqing dragged him out to have some fun. Even though Anlin had rejected her, her infatuation did not diminish in the slightest. Instead, it had developed in a different direction. "It looks like this girl really likes you." Su Xiaolan walked around the room, admiring the photos in the room with an indescribable expression. Anlin's lips twitched slightly as he pondered whether he should present the lava durian to her first. Su Xiaolan made her way over to the table to discover that there was a crooked graffiti on the table, which depicted a pair of people holding hands with the names Anlin and Ying Luoqing written on it. Sigh. My Anlin really is too exceptional. To think that you can make someone admire you to such an extent. Su Xiaolan heaved a forlorn sigh. Anlin finally found an opening, and he hurriedly said, That's right, that's right. There are so many fans who like me, and I'm actually quite distressed to have a few extremely fanatical fans. However, I have to clarify that none of this has anything to do with me. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. I know, there's no need to be so nervous. Am I that scary? Unlin gulped as he hurriedly shook his head. Su Xiaolan then made her way over to a round wooden chair before pointing at it. I sensed your aura from this chair. Unlin came to a sudden realization. When I was guarding the rift between the two worlds in Kunlun and playing games with Najah and Dabai, I was sitting on this chair, and that's why my aura is on it. Both of them fell into silence as they spoke. Just how infatuated was Ying Luoqing with Enlin to be able to bring back the wooden chair that Enlin had sat on and view it as a precious treasure. Chapter 1823. On the Tokyo Sky Tree Stage. A delightful song wafted through the air. Dongfang Shui's concert had already begun, and the entire venue had transformed into a sea of joy. An exquisitely beautiful woman in a red and white witch robe with long, black hair braided with red ribbons and skin as fair as jade weaved through the crowd, looking around for something. Her beautiful features forced many of the fans to avert their eyes from Dongfang Shui. Compared to Dongfang Shui, who was as unreachable as a bright moon on the stage, this woman's exquisite beauty was even more stunning. She had become a unique part of the concert scenery. There were even some spectators who couldn't help but ask her what she was looking for, but she only cared about walking and completely ignored everyone else. Enlin, where are you? The woman murmured. She was none other than Ying Luoqing, who had traveled all the way from Mount Fuji to attend the concert. Ying Luoqing unleashed her divine sense and scanned the entire concert venue, but she still couldn't find that person. She saw An Mingchuan and the members of the Peace Immortal sect, but she still couldn't find Enlin. There were over 200,000 people in this vast sea of people. If Enlin were here, Ying Luoqing was confident that she would be able to find him. He didn't come to the concert? Ying Luoqing slowly opened her palm and looked at the talisman that she had just wove from the vines of the divine wood flower. I didn't get to give this to him in person after all. She flipped her hand, and a light yellow wine bottle appeared in her palm. A strange blush appeared on her face, and she murmured, "And this, it's made from my primordial sorceress's saliva and rice. It's a chewy wine that I've kept for more than 10 years. I don't have the chance to give it to him." The woman sighed with emotion. Everyone was in an uproar. The singing on the stage was ethereal. Only Ying Luoqing stood silently on the spot with 2 items in her hands, which she pressed against her chest as she looked up at the bright moon in the sky, appearing to be a little out of place. So far away, Mt. Fuji. At the Sakura snow-blowing house, Ying Luoqing descended from the sky atop her cherry blossom petals. "Mistress! Welcome back, mistress!" 2 witches hurried out to greet her. "What's going on?" Ying Luoqing asked coldly when she saw the strange expressions on the 2's faces. The Miko sages didn't dare to conceal anything and told Ying Luoqing everything that had happened. Impossible. Unless a return to Void stage mighty figure arrives in person, there's no way the 1,000-fold cherry slaughter formation can be broken. Ying Luoqing shook her head incessantly. As for the ancestral awakening of the formation and the appearance of the witch goddess, that's even more unimaginable. Who on earth would be able to do such a thing? Could it be? A thought suddenly occurred to Ying Luoqing, and her eyes lit up. "Quick! Tell me, what does that man look like? Isn't he super handsome?" "I'm not super handsome, I'm just a little handsome." The witch was given a fright by Ying Luoqing's reaction. "That's because you are blind." A peculiar flush had already appeared on Ying Luoqing's face, and she hurriedly described the appearance of this person to the guardian witch, only to discover that it really was Enlin. She hurriedly rushed into her room and looked at the empty room. The smile on her face gradually faded. "Sigh, why didn't you tell me earlier that you wanted to visit my place? Also, is that very beautiful woman beside you your Tao partner?" Ing Luoqing murmured to herself as a hint of disappointment appeared on her exquisite features. She picked up the Enlin figurine on the table and poked Enlin figurine's cheek as an infatuated smile appeared on her face. I wonder what expression Enlin San will have when he sees my room. I really want to know. His reaction must be very adorable. Enlin and Su Xiaolan had already left. They continued onward to enjoy the cherry blossoms. In the end, they soaked in a natural hot spring on a snowy mountain and looked up at the stars in the sky. Enlin told Su Xiaolan about the realm of stars outside of the Tai Chu continent. Of course, he had copied all of this information from the Rabbit Maiden. This world is very, very big, and there are many places we can go. Enlin smiled. Su Xiaolan was also looking forward to it. After we take care of the heavenly human tribe, let's go to the realm of stars outside of the Tai Chu continent together? Enlin nodded. Sure. They both had a feeling. This battle wasn't going to last for much longer. Perhaps the final battle was about to take place. They had to become more powerful as soon as possible. Enlin turned his gaze toward his sea of vital energy. Not only was there in Kirin, the holy flame vermilion bird, the little whale, but there were also 3 round eggs, a blazing sun, and a bone spike that was wreaking havoc everywhere. He had already absorbed about 50% of the sun. His absorption rate of the essential bone marrow essence of the heavenly true immortal had increased even further, and he had already absorbed 60% of the essential bone marrow essence. He was confident that he would be able to complete the dark immortal transformation mission in less than half a month. Hopefully, the battle wouldn't commence too soon. Enlin felt like as long as the heavenly gods let him off the hook a little longer, he would definitely be able to pummel the heavenly gods. Time flew by. Days passed by peacefully. Enlin and Su Xiaolan enjoyed a luxurious life on Earth. 5 days later, they decided to return to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Nothing much had happened on Earth, so the Rabbit Maiden would be left to guard the gate. She was a god of creation after all, and her combat prowess was at the very pinnacle of the god of creation stage. If even she was worried, then no one would be able to do this job. Enlin also sought out the ancient Dragon Empress and asked her to teach the Rabbit Maiden heaven-crushing technique. This was a trump card against the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods, so she had to learn it. The Rabbit Maiden was very nervous upon hearing this, and she told Enlin that her aptitude was mediocre, so it wasn't her fault that she couldn't learn it well. However, after a few days, the ancient Dragon Empress tested the Rabbit Maiden's cultivation results and forced her to unleash everything she had learned, only to be beaten into a pulp by the Rabbit Maiden. Enlin, no one from you wants to learn heaven-crushing techniques from me. The ancient Dragon Empress' enraged and aggrieved voice sounded from the voice transmission talisman. Why? Enlin was shocked. The voice transmission fell silent for a few seconds. I'm scared of pain, the ancient Dragon Empress spoke in a slow voice. Enlin, if you want to teach them, then teach them yourself. In any case, Enlin, you're already a heavenly disciple, so I'm not going to keep you company. He didn't know if he was hallucinating, but he could hear a hint of sobbing in the ancient Dragon Empress' voice. Just what had the ancient Dragon Empress been through? At this moment, in the northeastern region of the Tai Chu continent, within the Purple Star ruins, within the land of eternal light, a beautiful dragon tribe young woman was carefully applying medicine to a woman's back. There were a few extremely large rabbit claw marks on her back, which were still emanating terrifying soul power fluctuations. This pitiful woman was none other than the ancient Dragon Empress. She was sparring with the Rabbit Maiden to test her ability to learn, upon which the ancient Dragon Empress suffered a tragic fate. In terms of heaven-crushing true intent, the ancient Dragon Empress was more proficient. However, the Rabbit Maiden's cultivation base was far superior. Who would have thought that an adorable rabbit with an inferiority complex would be AF** king god of creation stage? The rabbit maiden's ordinary heaven-crushing claw almost made the ancient dragon empress question her very existence. Unlin, where did you get this god of creation stage? It hasn't been that long, and you've already gotten such a powerful being to serve you. I really don't understand you anymore. The ancient dragon empress lay on her bed and sighed with emotion. Chapter 1824. Anlin rode Dabai while Su Xiaolan rode Little Huang back to the 4-9 Immortal Sect together. Anlin had asked his father if he wanted to come to the 4-9 Immortal Sect, but Mingchuan told him that there was still the Peace Immortal Sect on Earth. He wanted to stay on Earth and survive this heavenly human tribe disaster with the people of his sect. Anlin was very touched, and he gave a few more immortal pills to Mingchuan. He also used the power of his consciousness and blood essence to materialize a few spiritual bombs for Mingchuan so that he could use them in emergencies. They would be no problem against Heaven Pioneer stage great generals. Tian Lingling and the others also wanted to stay on Earth. They all said that they would go to the Tai Chu continent after this crisis was over. Dongfang Shui even told them that she was going to go to the Tai Chu continent when she had the chance to do a world-class concert tour. Anlin said that this concert tour would probably last for several hundred years. Anlin didn't force them. He promised to destroy the heavenly human tribe and return peace to Earth before bidding farewell to his friends on Earth. At the 4-9 Immortal Sect, all of the disciples stood in formation. Welcome back, sect leader Anlin. May Anlin live on for 10,000 years to come, and may you reign supreme in all your battles. Heartfelt cries of welcome rocked heaven and earth. Even though Anlin had experienced this many times, he was still a little perplexed. Did they change their F***king lines again? He recalled that this wasn't the same welcome speech last time. I've made new contributions, so I have to look new every day in order to maintain my vitality. Bai Ling stood at the very front with a dainty smile. She was holding a small ball in her hand, which was like a ballroom projector. Countless dazzling lights erupted from within the ball, creating an extremely festive atmosphere. Anlin couldn't do anything about Bai Ling's unique fetish, so he could only let her be. By the way, has anything major happened on the Tai Chu continent recently? Anlin asked. Not only was Bai Ling the sect's black technology developer, but she was also responsible for collecting and processing information about the entire world. As the most perfect human of the Purple Star civilization, she possessed the most flexible and resourceful brain in the world, which allowed her to process an enormous amount of information in a short amount of time. One had to realize that the core knowledge of the entire Purple Star civilization had been stuffed into her brain. That was the knowledge of a civilization at the pinnacle of the 4th level, which was on a completely different level from the knowledge of Earth. However, even though she had absorbed so much knowledge, she still acted as if nothing had happened. It was said that she was using less than 10% of her brain right now. One could imagine just how intelligent Bai Ling's brain was. There are a few important things, Bai Ling replied with a solemn expression. Oh? Tell me about it. Anlin was curious. In the Purple Star wasteland, where the heavenly Tao once tore apart, a huge pillar of light appeared, leading to an infinitely higher place. On that day, rainbow light engulfed the entire continent, and an extremely powerful healing power, as well as an indescribable material power, all of which flowed into the sky above the Purple Star wasteland. Based on all of the data and energy analysis, I feel like Nuwa's mending of the heavens has officially begun. She has officially announced her lineup to all living beings in this world, Bai Ling said. Anlin nodded. Nuwa had already mentioned this to him when she came to see him. At that time, he had asked her what were the chances of Nuwa successfully mending the heavens. Nuwa's reply was, "The future is limitless. They will either be reborn in the midst of hope, or they will die in the midst of hope." Anlin thought to himself, what the F***ck was this? However, he still pretended to be a wise and knowledgeable person and nodded with a thoughtful expression. By the way, Bai Ling, according to your calculations, what are the chances of Nuwa successfully mending the heavens this time? Lin turned to the chief scientist of his sect. A thoughtful expression appeared on Bai Ling's face before she heaved a forlorn sigh. To be honest, Nuwa is only mending the heavenly Tao on a material level. In other words, she is mending the fragments of the heavenly Tao on the material level. This will make the heavenly Tao more complete, but there is a 0% chance of success in mending the entire heavenly Tao. Lin and Su Xiaolan's expressions both became grave upon hearing this. Back then, the purple star stabbed a hole in the heavenly Tao of the Tai Chu continent. In order to mend this hole, not only do we need the fragments of the heavenly Tao, we also need something that represents the power of the heavenly Tao. That power can be the interaction between particles, it can be the dynamic force between objects, it can be the power of space, the power of time. All tangible and intangible powers in this world can be described as the power of Tao. It is all-encompassing and all-encompassing. A forlorn expression appeared on Bai Ling's face. If Nuwa can't find the missing power of Tao, and can't mend the missing power of Tao, then mending the heavens would be a complete joke. Su Xiaolan was curious. Then has Nuwa found the missing power of Tao? Bai Ling shook her head. It looks like she hasn't found it yet. The mending of the heavens will take more than a day or two. Perhaps she feels like she doesn't have enough time, so she has to mend the heavens physically first, Bai Ling continued. During this process, won't the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods take advantage of this opportunity to attack her? Lin was a little concerned about Nuwa's safety. Don't worry about that. Bai Ling smiled. Nuwa's mending of the heavens is an act of complying with the heavenly Tao, so she is protected by the will of the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly gods were to attack Nuwa, then they would be committing the most grievous act of disobeying the will of the heavens. Believe it or not, the heavenly Tao could inflict a backlash upon them and kill them. Lin thought about this and felt like it made sense. He had been severely wounded, and a doctor had finally appeared to treat him, only to be beaten to death by a bunch of brats. If he were in Nuwa's shoes, he would also want to slap those brats to death. Bai Ling continued in a cold voice. The second important thing is that after Nuwa mended the heavens, the flaws in the heavenly Tao have been further perfected, and the heavenly Tao's suppression toward the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods has been further strengthened. In terms of combat power, if the enemy is weakened, our chances of winning will be higher. As for the third important thing, the kingdom of the 9 states, the Buddhist kingdom of the West, the Holy Paradise, the North Tsang Mountain Realm, the West Sea Alliance, the Demonic Realm, and all of the other kingdom of the 9 states united army have launched an all-out war against the heavenly human tribe. They have slain over 50 million enemy troops, and the entire heavenly human tribe army on the northern front has been wiped out. The heavenly gods have been forced to intervene on the other fronts, and only then have they been able to stop the tide of defeat. Lin's expression was one of awe and admiration. As a god of creation, Nuwa really is extraordinary. She was able to instantly turn the tide of the battle. There were still many bad *SS beings in this world. He, Lin, could not be considered the most powerful being in this world. The fourth important thing, which is also the most important thing, Bai Ling continued. Lin and Su Xiaolan's expressions both became serious. Bai Ling continued, some of the heavenly gods have already snuck into the Tai Chu continent to ambush powerful beings from all over the Tai Chu continent. There have already been 2 Tao integration stage super mighty figures and 23 return to void stage mighty figures who have fallen. The heavenly Tao only replenishes material resources, not power of Tao. Even though the heavenly gods' powers have been restricted, the backlash they receive from the heavenly Tao's subconscious will has been drastically reduced, which is why they are attacking so frequently.